As we welcome our audience on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital to Docklands, where Essendon are hosting Brisbane. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster call the action for you. There's no late changes to either side. Dylan Shield was pulled out of Essendon's side yesterday. Braden Ham replaces him. Jackson Pryor, the sub for Brisbane. And Tex Wanganeen, the sub for Essendon, which is a lovely moment, presented with his jumper by the family earlier. Jono, the son of the great Gavin Wanganeen, he gets his chance this afternoon.
Yeah, it's an interesting way of events. He was out for a couple of years when he was coming through the ranks, and he got his opportunity earlier on this year to do the pre-season and proved himself. It's good to see him out there. He really looks like a footballer. He made a massive impact on that early stage of the late stage of the community series game. So I'm really looking forward to him. He's a made footballer. I think he's got the nous. As we don't hear that so much anymore, Berkey, about nous of football. He's got a nous of football.
He's been on the list for a month and 3 days. It's an exciting prospect. So the Bombers return home, looking to make amends for their performance last week. The Lions start trying to go 2-0 to start us off on Grandstand AFL. Here's Jess Webster.
The umpire thumps the ball into the turf and McInerney thumps it forward. Straight down to Stringer, though, back into the side this week for Essendon. Just whacks it on the boot towards the outer side wing. It's out of bounds on the full. Free kick going the way of the Brisbane Lions. Just short of the wing position at Starcevic with footy in hand. Short kick inboard to Zorko, who's marked at right half back. Wants to switch play. Has Adams all alone inside defensive 50. Goes to him and he marks. Forced to hold up play momentarily, then spots up Rich on the wing, but it's chopped off by Francis. Another Bomber back into the side this week. Has got McGrath running for him on the outside from right half forward. Kicks towards right, who has 2 to beat, and going back and taking the fantastic mark is Adams, who was excellent for Brisbane last week.
5 coaches' votes for Marcus Adams in that loss last week. Kicks out wide. Stringer for the Bombers. Keeps it in. And then wheels away. Gets to 55. Outsends it to full forward. Peter Wright. Brings a cheer to the Bombers fans early. He'll go back 25 out directly in front.
Well, the Bombers last week were absolutely smashed into clearances, 51-27. So they've brought in Stringer. They've chucked him straight in the middle of the ground. He had that first clearance. Didn't quite work out, but really well done there. Great kick to the advantage of Big Peter Wright.
The last time he played here, he kicked 7 against the Dogs. His good form under the roof continues. Wright lands an early blow for Essendon. And the Bombers on the board first. That's just what their supporters would have wanted with a goal after a minute and a half.
Look, fantastic repeat entries there for the Bombers. And I just want to, Daniel Rich, we love him, Berkey, the way he carries the ball, the way he delivers the ball. But twice now, just in a matter of sort of 45 seconds, the lack of intensity to be able to spoil the ball in an aerial contest. Here right in front of us with Francis. And then I think Adams was thinking that Rich was going to come third up. Didn't come third up, and it was just a great mark from Peter Wright.
Let's get downstairs. Lauren Borden's on the boundary for us, Loz. It's a fair bit of atmosphere here this afternoon. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Joel. They're really easy, even though the roof's closed, and it would have been perfect weather to have it open. It's created a really nice party atmosphere, and geez, the Bombers fans love 2 metre Peter and the way he went about that opening goal. Here he is again.
So the Bombers win it out of the centre, and Wright collects inside the 50, and a short pass finds McGrath in space. He's going to line up and have a shot for Essendon. Second, 40 metres out, slight angle to the left.
Well, that was Jake Stringer with another clearance out of the middle, but I'm not sure how Harris Handrews can lose a player who's 2 metres tall by 30 metres. He was 30 metres away from his opponent.
McGrath on the approach from 40 metres out is missed to the right-hand side for a minor score, but Essendon have the fast start at Docklands, kicking towards the Coventry end of the ground, 1-1-7. The Lions yet to score, 3 minutes played in the first.
Just settle the nerves of their supporters somewhat. Would have turned up today with a degree of trepidation. Ben Rutten said during the week they really didn't see that defeat at the hands of Geelong last week coming, or at least the manner in which it did. Long kick out of defence for the Lions toward Danaher on the wing, nudged under it by Laverty. And stepping across the line was Darcy Ford. It'll be thrown in between the interchange gates.
Well, Laverty's got the match-up on Danaher tonight, or this afternoon. So it's going to be interesting. There's a bit of height given away there, but he done well in that contest.
Done well to come up last week after that crunching contest with Jeremy Cameron has Jaden Laverty from the stoppage. Heppel paddles it to McGrath, goes back looking for Heppel along the boundary line. Handball trying to find Merritt. He's stepped across by the opposite number 7 in Berry, and we'll have a throw in. The Lions only slightly into attack on the Dockside wing.
Dane Zorko playing on the half-back line again. He's really exalting his midfield to try and pick up a cog. He looks a bit frustrated back there.
Bailey roves to perfection but runs out of room. Handball intercepted by McGrath. Chucks it on the boot towards half forward. It's off hands. Rich collects the footy close up against the boundary line. A left foot snap around the corner towards the pack again. McGrath at the fall of the ball. Spins around, delivers a nice pass to Perkins on the wing. Wants to move it inboard and does. It's a dangerous kick, but it comes off. Merritt marks and chips forward. Finds Cox 70 metres from home. Wright offers a lead. Cox ignores that. Decides to chip short to Heppel at right half forward. Now delivers inside 50. Standing tall is Lockie Neal. Chips it forward to McCluggage. Hands it off to Rayner from centre half back. Drives a kick down the corridor. Cameron will have to judge the bounce. He runs past it. Stewart collects for the Bombers. Handballs to Ridley, who chips out wide and finds Durham in a bit of space.
Kelly and Cameron going head-to-head early. Of course, the two former Adelaide teammates played in the grand final for the Crows. Sam Durham into the side this week for the Bombers. Mid-season draftee last year. Kicks to half forward. Peter Wright strong in the contest. Marks it left half forward. 60 metres out. Stringer wants it in the pocket. Wright goes shorter than that. Merritt inside the 50 looking for Stringer. Gardner stands in the way. Such a reliable defender for Brisbane. Across the defensive goal face to the left back pocket for Berry. Lions with a 7-point deficit. Early stages, 5.5 minutes played here in the opening turn.
Rich from the goal square, chips short to Zorko, and pass to Bailey. Chips forward and finds McCluggage inside the centre square. Handballs off to Rayner from the centre circles at Docklands. Handballs defensively to Neal. Hand pass out wide to Bailey from the wing. Kicks up towards the arc. Bounces inside 50. 4 out the back. Handballs to Cameron, who gives it off to McStay, who let it go. Ball milling around inside the forward 50 for the Lions. McCluggage on his hands and knees. Heppel almost fell into his back. This ball spills loose. Now Kelly off to Durham. Hand pass to Caldwell. And has Merritt on the inside. Gives it to him. Runs through the corridor. Chips over the top to Smith. At left half forward is tackled to the ground. Andrews collects for the Lions. Handballs inside the defensive 50 to Adams under pressure. Kick partially smothered by Francis. Trickles towards the boundary line and over the line. And we've got a throw in left half forward for Essendon.
Quite fumbly the Lions, and Charlie Cameron running onto the ball inside forward 50. Dropped the ball. McStay, easy handball. I think he was thinking about kicking the goal before he actually got the ball. They just don't look very clean at the moment, do they, Johnny?
Well, last week, Berkey, at the same time, they were very fumbly, but missing easy targets at the same time.
Here's a clearance to Parrish from half forward. High ball to full forward. Adams read it best among the pack and clutched it to his chest on the last line for the Lions.
I think the Lions at the moment are using the ball in their back half pretty well, but it's that forward entry where Essendon have probably been a little bit better in this short stage of the game.
Bailey, a handball to Rich, back to Bailey, goes straight up the pipe, looking to half forward. Two Essendon players collided, almost waiting out the back was Cameron. Strong tackle late on Redmond, lost the ball. McCluggage now, he's spun around, got it away to Rayner, now to Fort low inside the 50, finds McCarthy. McCarthy's going to lay it off into the pocket. Almost the mark to Charlie. Was he infringed with? No. And the Bombers take it away. Cowley's there to run it outside the defensive 50 and finds the safety of Peter Wright at right half back.
Well, he had Hart G in the other pocket, all on his own, and no players near him whatsoever. But he's tried to split Charlie and tried to pinpoint that target. Just need to calm down a little bit the Lions. But the Bombers seem to have their measure at the moment in putting them under pressure.
Yep, Charlie tried to make that marker look a little bit more harder than what it actually was.
Parrish kicks in board. Cox handball was partially smothered. And the umpires found a free kick. High tackle going the way of the Bombers to Merritt. Gives it off to a running Hine from the logo on the centre wing. Kicks towards half forward. Ball's off hands. Ainsworth collects for the Lions and ball's backwards to Gardner. The umpire's found another free kick. It's a hold by the looks of it, going the way of Brisbane against Stringer. It'll be Ainsworth.
Joel, you talked about players coming up and surprised that Laverty came up. I'm actually surprised that Zorko came up. Last week he had a bit of a calf Achilles injury and was subbed out of the game. So he's pretty
I'm
happy
glad you said that, because I've been watching him run.
How's he travelling?
He's not running well. There's a definite limp when he's not going 100%. We can cover it. When he's going 50%, absolutely limping.
Stay from the wing, trying to bite an aggressive kick off to centre-half forward. Cut off by Cox for the Bombers. Handball made McGrath work. Paddled it through the legs of Neil. Regained it. Then the little hand fake. Goes through the centre. He sold them all out of their boots. Kicked inside the 50, but Andrews stood in the way to Answorth. And now to Gardner, who calmly navigates himself outside the back 50 for the Lions. High kick up toward the ring. Ridley slams it away for the Bombers. Only as far as Fort. His handball dangerous. Guelphy's there to pounce on it inside the 50. Starcevic came up with it, ran into trouble. Cutler, the former Lion, got away with it somehow. Handball to Cox, he went the wrong way. Not sure what he was doing there. He's given it up in the Lions, through Lions to Neil, back to Lions, goes inside the 50. Great mark, McCarthy, not quite, almost got it between his legs. And now he hands off to McCluggage, who curls it around the body. And on the left foot, the boot finishes beautifully. Hugh McCluggage, we know he's had so many troubles with set shots. That was a lovely finish on the non-preferred. And he gets Brisbane's first of the game. One straight the Lions, 1-1 the Bombers through 12 minutes of the opening term.
Well, that really quick slingshot off that half-back line, that looks when the Lions are their most dangerous. They've got McCarthy and Cameron and McStay. Fair bit of pace down there to run onto that football in that open space. When they muck around with a little bit too much, it sort of plays into the Bombers' hands.
It does, and what I'm noticing too, and from Thursday night, Berkey, as well, is a lot of players are losing their feet here this afternoon, but especially on Thursday night. But I've already seen a handful of players just all over from trying to change direction. Very, very shifty underfoot here at the moment, Marvel Stadium.
So we're back in the middle. The umpire's found a free kick going to Wright, who's moved into the ruck for the Bombers. He's cocked one high. Can send the Bombers forward once more. Long kick towards half forward. Stringer in front. Ball goes over his head, but the umpire's found a free kick for a push. And Stringer has it 50 metres from home.
No need for Zorko to do that, was there, Berkey? He just sort of tried to tunnel almost Stringer there, and the umpire is too quick, too smart to be on that. He just probably needed to just give a contest rather than do that.
Well, Jake's pretty confident. Zorko's on the mark at just outside 50 by about 30 centimetres, and walk back with the back towards goals and thinks, I've got this distance, no trouble at all.
Jake Stringer back into the side this week. Will have to kick it from 55. Almost tried to get around Zorko on the mark. Ended up kicking right into him. He's collects it again, Stringer. This time a low ball inside 50 and has come off. And Durham marks 40 metres out directly in front of it. A comedy of errors, but the Bombers still end up having a shot for goal.
You called it, Berkey. You knew that he did it. He was going to do something, and he tried to create something out of nothing. But well done. Went back on the ball onto his left foot and put it into an area which is dangerous for the Lions. And they had men lining up. If it didn't hit Durham, it was going to hit someone else.
So Durham has come in for his first game of season 2022 this afternoon. He's missed this one to the right-hand side. The Bombers 1-2-8, Brisbane 1-6. We played 13 minutes in the opening term.
Let's get downstairs, Lauren Borden.
Thanks, Joel. You mentioned Dane Zorko looking a little bit uncomfortable. He came back onto the ground for that contest, but he did spend a fair bit of time getting his Achilles and foot massaged by the physio. He's probably about 2 minutes down here on the boundary.
Here he is at fullback, kicking in for the Lions. Loz directs his pass toward Archie. Stringer charged it down, gave away a free kick for front-on contact. So he had ankle surgery in the off-season, Dane Zorko. Chris Fagan said last week it was maybe a bit of the scar tissue that was providing some of the difficulty with the calf. But
I'm watching him now, and Berkey's on the money. He does not look right at all.
We'll be on Zorko watch throughout the course of the evening here on Grandstand AFL. Lions nervously somewhat inside the defensive 50, go from left back pocket to right. Gardner swings it out to Harris Andrews, who's on the half-back flank on the City side. Lions trail by 2 points. 13 and a half minutes gone opening term. Long kick up the line, fought the target. Berry off hands, maybe thrown down without the ball. Free kick and advantage here to Lockie Neal, who looks long inside 50. Rayner going back with Kelly. It's a neutral. It goes through for a rush behind to narrow the gap to 1 point through 14 minutes.
Yeah, classically Zorko, he's running on that heel. He just doesn't want to get up on his toes and stretch that calf.
So the Bombers bring it back in, and Hine marks at left half back, right against the boundary line. Now called to play on. Loads up and kicks it long down the wing to a pack right. Had some separation against Andrews and plucks the mark. Centre wing position, dock side of the ground.
They do have Zorko on stringer inside 50 all by themselves. If they can get the ball moving quickly down there, well, he's certainly got an advantage.
Oh, Francis with the big fly. Right kicked it long towards half forward. He couldn't bring it down. Francis goes in again. Can't go with it. Andrews for the Lions picks up the footy. Handballs to Neal. And now off to Lions. Defensive hand pass to Zorko. He does a pirouette and then kicks out wide where Adams marks at right half back.
Well, they got Starcevic back real quickly after you picked up on that matchup, Berkey. So, they're very conscious that he is going to run forward whenever he can.
McStay from behind the wing, kicks up toward half forward. Danaher, the first involvement. You can hear the crowd's response to the kick targeting Joe. There'll be an assortment of boos around Docklands, you'd imagine.
Just no flow to this game at the moment. It's not going quick. It's not going slow. It's the decision-making, overdoing the handball far too often. It's a bit ugly.
You know what they call it? Boring mode.
Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson with you, your experts on Grandstand AFL. Free kick off the footy here. McStay was pushed over without the ball by Stewart. And Dan McStay from just outside the 50. Doesn't think he's got the carry. Chips it into the pocket. Wrigley at the back. Stood strong playing game number 50 this afternoon. The best and fairest of a couple of years ago for the Bombers. Chips short inside the back arc to McGrath.
McGrath chips short to Heppel at centre half back. Then dangerous kick into the centre of the ground. It comes off though. Right marks inside the centre square. Called to play on. So kicks to half forward where Perkins is standing all alone. Marks just in the nick of time before Answorth came across to apply the pressure. Perkins runs inboard and then kicks into the pocket. Stringer against Gardner goes over their heads, bounces into the point post, and we've got a boundary throw in deep in the right forward pocket for Essendon.
It's like the crowd. They need to invite the crowd to get involved here because there's a bit of a lull around here at the moment. Both supporters aren't too sure where both teams sit at the moment.
They were set alight early. Peter Wright with a goal in the second minute for the Bombers, and nothing on the major tally since. Inside forward 50. Good tackle. Pressure from Stringer. Lions inside the back arc for Brisbane to Adams, who just slams it outside up toward the wing. Durham in the race against Cockatoo did well. Was out of position but forced the neutral. Slapped it out toward the boundary line. It'll be thrown back in.
Well, the Bombers are unlucky there, Perky. That should have been holding the ball off through Berry. He picked it up. He took 2 or 3 steps and he didn't even dispose of the ball correctly after the tackle.
Wright palms it down. Merritt Rose gives it to Cox. Handballs to Caldwell. Close against the boundary line. Gives it to Merritt. Chips inside 50. Spoiled down by Harris. Fort collects for the Lions. Under pressure with the kick. Kicks it out wide. Lions marks at right half back. Has McCluggage in space just outside the centre square. Goes to him and he marks. Now called to play on. Gets around Cox. Just a dinky little kick looking for Neal. Had too much on it, but Neal runs onto it. Keeps the ball alive. Handballs inboard to McCluggage, who fends one off. Gives it back to Neal. His kick is smothered. Durham collects for the Bombers. Gives it off to Caldwell, who has Ham running for him in the corridor.
Nothing up forward though.
Nothing to kick to, so he has to give it to Hine, who's got pace to burn from right half forward. Now kicks into the pocket where Smith is off the lead. Good fist down by Adams, but is he giving away the free kick? He has.
Yeah, he has, but he called advantage and then called it back. So I'm not too sure what was happening there, but Jess, you called it well because out of half back, they looked up the Bombers and there was just like 3 Lions players just sitting there. There was an interchange going on at the same time, and the work of Devon Smith to actually get down there to be an option was, that gut running that you needed to do, so he's been rewarded.
Oh, goodness me. wasn't a free kick
Wasn't
either.
there?
Devon Smith actually grabbed the Lions player's arm.
So Devon Smith makes the most of his opportunity, curls it around on the left, and the Bombers have their second. 2-2-14 plays Brisbane 1-1-7. We've played nearly 19 minutes in the opening term.
No, Devon Smith was in front. The Lions player came from behind. Devon Smith used his left arm to actually hook the Lions player, and the umpire called a holding decision against the Lions player. So a little bit stiff there, but this game is just riddled at the moment with really poor decision-making, particularly by hand. Players are just handballing to other players who are standing still, and they're putting their opponent or their teammate under far too much pressure. There's a real reluctance to kick the ball when they're actually running forward, and if I'm a forward at either end, I'm a little bit frustrated with the way that it's just getting overused, especially through that middle third of the ground.
Australian Football Hall of Famer Nathan Burke with you, alongside three-time Brisbane Lions premiership star Chris Johnson on grandstand AFL. From the restart, Parrish a handball to Merritt, who forces it forward to Caldwell, jams it inside the forward 50. Standing under it, Perkins, thumped away from him. Throwing a boot at it was McGrath for the Bombers. It spills to a central location. Working his way around is Francis. He found some clean air, whacked it on the right boot toward goal, but pulled it left. A minor score. Lions trail by 8 points, just ticking into time on in this opening term.
Inside 50s, 14-5 in favour of the Bombers. And as we mentioned last week, their clearances were terrible. They're winning 6-2 at the moment.
Rich with the kick-in duties for the Lions. Just chips it short to the pocket and finds Ainsworth. And then drives it long down the wing. Ridley in front position over McStay. Takes the mark. Chips in board and finds Merritt. Centre half forward, lovely delivery to Peter Wright on the lead, who's marked it 40 metres out, slide angle to the left.
Beautiful ball movement there by Essendon. They were on this side, on the broadcast side, brought it back in corridor and went to sort of semi-fat side. He's a big, big unit, Peter Wright, and when he gets on the move, you want to be out of his path a couple of times. He's looked very, very interesting up forward at the moment.
His sixth mark already in this first quarter, disposal number 9, and drills it home for his second of the evening. Essendon 3-3-21, Brisbane 1-1-7, 21 minutes played in the opening term.
Well, Chris Fagan, he's only a young fella, but young Ainsworth got the kick out from the behind in the forward, in their back pocket, and just turned and played on. And it's the last thing you want as a coach is for a player to just turn and play on in their back pocket, not know what's down the field. He tried to invent something, but in the end kicked it straight to a Bomber player who then changed lanes, went around to the fat side of the ground where Peter Wright can take an uncontested mark. But it's those sorts of things that it comes back to, like Ainsworth. It's about a minute to go before, quarter time. We're not playing that well. There's no need to hurry and play on and give the ball back to the Bombers in their forward half.
So Essendon by 14 points. Had a real impact here in this opening term. At the restart, Caldwell to Merritt, and they're dominating the middle of the ground at the moment. Here's Ham for Essendon. Flares it out wide to Cutler, who's got a long right boot on him from 55 metres out, sends it to full forward over the head of Wright and bounces through for a minor score. They're peppering away here, the Bombers. 15 points the lead, 22 minutes gone opening term.
Well, let's see what happens here, whether they go a little bit more circumspect or just get Daniel Rich to kick it as far as he can.
He does exactly that. Rich kicks long out towards the broadcast wing. It's offhand. Stewart collects his kick, smothered by Berry, and we've got a boundary line between wing and half forward for Essendon on the broadcast side of the ground.
I reckon the Lions, all they rely on is fast breaks. They don't know how to actually play that slow play out of defence. We had McStay as the target there, but he was three deep behind his opponent. He needs to get in front and bring that ball to ground.
So Essendon by 15 points from the throw-in. Draper just gets boot to ball, kicks a high one towards half forward. Rich is there for the Lions, decides to kick it off the deck, tumbles a ball into the centre square. Archie collects, he's driven to the turf, and they've turned it over. Here's Parrish, low ball towards half forward, through the hands of Gelfie. Coming out is Andrews, handballs off to Rich. Offensive handball, lovely weighted handball into the path of Rayner, who gives it to Neil and runs Johnson to Redmond is dispossessed, holding the ball. Free kick, Essendon.
You called it before, Berkey, just the over-finessing. They were out then. I thought Rayner was going to go long and deep. Joe Danaher wouldn't be happy with this at all, the way the ball's coming inside their forward line.
Sprinting straight through the middle of the ground, and you handball sideways. Don't get it.
What would you get from Plugger if you were doing that, you and Harves? Mouthful?
I'd run back down the other end. I'd be so scared of me.
Well, Dons go inside the 50 again, and Peter Wright is on the end of another. He's playing some sort of opening term. 7 marks, 2 goals already for Peter.
They're making Peter Wright look like John Coleman at the moment, because he's not even taking contested marks.
You just wonder the change. Like we didn't even see this from Peter when he was up at the Gold Coast. So, looking good.
From 45 metres out, Peter Wright, that one won't have the accuracy. It's ended up off hands as Francis and Andrews scrapped for it next to the right-hand behind post. It'll be tossed back in. Right forward pocket. Essendon into attack. 15 points the Bombers lead. 25 minutes gone in the opening term.
Draper against McInerney. It's a shallow throw in. McInerney palms it down straight to Caldwell as a flying shot on goal. Misses to the right-hand side. But it's all Essendon in this first quarter. They move to 3-5-23. Brisbane 1-1-7. 25 minutes played first term.
Terrible positioning by the Lions at that stoppage to allow Caldwell just to run boundary side and get a run onto a loose ball and snap.
Clearances 10-2 in favour of Essendon. It has been a massacre as they were thumped around the footy, as you mentioned last week, Berkey, as Rich comes down the line. And the boos ring out as Danaher takes the mark. And a bounce as he plays on and pumps the Lions inside the 50. Cameron's in the wrestle with Kelly. And the ladder out points him. The boos turn to cheers rather quickly for the Bombers. Peter Wright's now inside the defensive 50, doing a little bit of everything. He has been everywhere in this opening term. Chips to Cutler at left half back as the Bombers look to build again.
Well, that's just one of the first times that Bombers have had to actually defend a long ball coming in. We spoke about it earlier. Like, you can sort of go and say to yourself, OK, well, if they're better than us and they mark it than us, well, that's fine, but get it in there.
So Cutler kicks short to Hind, who kicks a long ball down the line, and Peter Wright is there again. Got himself a free kick for a push in the marking contest. He's got a true centre wing position dockside and can pump the Bombers back into attack again. Perkins at the front. It spills to ground level. Zorko's coughed it up. A chance for the Bombers. Smith evades a couple, kicks backwards to Merritt inside the centre square. He looks to switch play. Has Laverty in space. Handballs off to Redmond from right half forward. His kick partially smothered. Wobbles inside 50. Picked up by Francis. Gives it to Perkins, who kicks another for the Bombers. They're on fire early at Docklands. 4-5-29. Brisbane 1-1-7. The margin is 22 and we've played 27 minutes in the first term. Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson.
Well, I'm glad they've got these last couple of goals because they deserve to be 22 points up. If they win in a quarter time and they're only 14, 15 points up, they've wasted that quarter. But starting to get the margin a little bit more similar to what General Play's looking like. They're dominating inside 50s. They're dominating their stoppages. If they clean up a little bit, they're going inside 50. Well, then this could blow out pretty big because at the moment, the Lions are giving me nothing. I've got no idea what they're trying to do. Are they trying to go quick? Are they trying to go slow? They're fumbling when they get free. They're just handballing to players standing still. They look like a team whose their brains are still in Brisbane. Didn't get on the plane with them.
Might have forgot the checked luggage. I think the Lions players from the restart, can they manufacture a clearance here? Neal tries to soccer it off the ground. Draper stands in the way and Stringer whacks it out of the centre of the ground toward half forward for Essendon. A bouncing ball. Smith up to collect it. Bombers with numbers around the footy. Ricocheted off the hand of McGrath to Guelphy, by hands to Durham, and now to Parrish, who enters the 50. Almost the mark to Caldwell, the smallest player in the pack, through the legs of Perkins and Smith. And then it's picked up by Andrews, who's quickly tackled by a couple of Bombers. Their pressure's been right up. The contest stuff's been good from Essendon. It has been a response from what they dished up last week, and they certainly needed it. They lead by 22 points. 28 and a half minutes gone in this opening term. A ball up inside forward 50 for the Dons. McInerney took it out of the ruck. Durham tackled strongly. And the Bombers fans very, very happy with what they've seen in the opening term here at Docklands. They kicked the first of the game in the opening couple of minutes. The Lions hit back, but Essendon closed with the final 3 goals of that opening term and have built a 22-point advantage at the end of the first term. 2 goals to Peter Wright to go with 12 disposals and 8 marks. Keeping high, his career high disposals is 20. He has 12 in the opening term. A goal to Archie Perkins and a goal to Devon Smith for Essendon. For Brisbane, Hugh McCluggage with their lone major of the game thus far. Quarter time here under the roof at Docklands. It's Essendon by 22 points. It's all unfolding on ABC Radio, ABC News Radio and ABC Sport Digital. This is Grandstand AFL.
ABC, your trusted source of accurate and timely emergency information.
We had the ABC on basically all afternoon listening.
There's so much going on. Getting news is a priority.
Well, I'm a fan of the ABC.
It must be love, love, love.
I listen to the ABC every day. I'm extremely grateful.
ABC Radio, reliable source for information.
On radio, on the ABC Listen app and the ABC Emergency website.
It must be love, love, love.
ABC, stay connected.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Stringer for the Bombers. Keeps it in. And then wheels away. Gets to 55. Out sends it to full forward. Peter Wright. The last time he played here, he kicked 7 against the Dogs. His good form under the roof continues. Lions to Neil, back to Lions, goes inside to 50, great mark, McCarthy not quite, almost got it between his legs, and now he hands off to McCluggage who curls it around the body, and on the left boot finishes beautifully.
So Devon Smith makes the most of his opportunity, curls it around on the left, and the Bombers have their second. Merritt, centre half forward, lovely delivery to Peter Wright on the lead, who's marked at 40 metres out, slide angle to the left. His 6th mark already in this first quarter. Disposal number 9 and drills it home for his second of the evening. Redmond from right half forward, his kick partially smothered. Wobbles inside 50, picked up by Francis, gives it to Perkins who kicks another for the Bombers. They're on fire early at Docklands.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
They are indeed. Jess Webster summed it up nicely for you on Grandstand AFL. The Bombers on fire in that opening term. And Brisbane have been left in their wake. 22 points the margin at the end of one. Essendon 4-5-29 to Brisbane 1-1-7. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster with you on Grandstand AFL. Great to have your company on ABC Radio, ABC News Radio in Queensland and via ABC Sport Digital, or of course the AFL app, where you can get all of our games on the ABC throughout the course of the 2022 season by hitting the Listen Live button and looking for the ABC worm. So if the game isn't on local radio in your part of the world, you'll be able to access it through the AFL app. 22-point lead to the Bombers here at quarter time earlier today at the MCG amid an almost evacuation for a fire alarm going off at the home of football in Melbourne. It was Collingwood who defeated Adelaide by 42 points. The Pies notching up 100, which has been a rare feat for them in recent seasons, to the Crows 58. So Craig McRae starts his Collingwood tenure with back-to-back wins, and the Pies fans will certainly be up and about, as will Essendon fans after a quarter here. Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson. That was quite the burst out of the blocks from the Bombers, Jono. They dominated around the footy and got some reward on the scoreboard in the end.
Yeah, they certainly did, Joel. And, I think, part of it, from what I can see is the contested ball at the moment, that Essendon are able to get in and get under and win that contested ball more than what Brisbane can, 41-27 at the minute. But then from there, there's one thing, you got to win the ball, but then what are you going to do after it within the contest? And it's the spread for me, Berkey, the spread for the Essendon guys when either it's in the middle of the ground or whether it's in a stoppage scenario, but when the turnover happens half back, middle of the ground, the spread and the ability for Essendon players to actually get wide and actually spread the Brisbane Lions defence and spread the Brisbane Lions midfield, he's probably a first class at the moment. Their forward entries has been very, very good as well. Peter Wright has looked extremely, up and about and leading at the football. When you've got someone of that ilk that's big, he's a big size, he's presenting himself at the football, he attracts the ball to him, Berkey. And that's the best thing that I've seen Essendon do for a long, long time. We've seen glimpses last year. I think he had a big day out, Peter Wright, but this is the best I've seen him sort of move for mine. Even at Gold Coast, we didn't see it. So I think it's around the contest. It's the forward entry. It's a connection between their their midfielders and their forward lines.
And Harris Andrews needs to understand that, our team's under the pump at the moment. It's 20-6 inside 50. So when you're losing 20-6 inside 50, it means the other team are pumping it in. I can't stand 10 metres off and just read it. It can't all be about me in the way that I want to play defence. You've got to say, you know what, it's coming in. Let's just get man on man and stop them. But hopefully Harris can change that attitude, because if not, they're going to get flogged. But a couple of the other stats, 12-2 total clearances in favour of the Bombers, and centre clearances. Last week they lost 20-8. This week it's 6-0. So the Lions have not had a centre clearance. 6-zip, 20-6 inside 50s. Every statistical category, the Bombers are absolutely flogging the Lions in. Chris Fagan, as Jono said, got to win a contested footy, and then you've got to actually some semblance of our game plan. What is our game plan at the moment? I've got no idea what it is. So hopefully, he said at quarter time, play our game plan and we'll get an understanding of what it is.
A little bit ahead of Brisbane here to fight their way back into this one. The thoughts of Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson on Grandstand AFL, second term underway. The bounce is skew if as Oscar McInerney round arms it from the centre out to the other umpires, who chucks it back to the centre where we'll have a secondary ball up. 22 points to lead of Essendon as we go into this second term. McInerney palms it down, but Draper farms the handball up to Parrish, who got it onto Merritt, who slapped it forward looking for Durham. Free kick going the way of the Bombers.
Merritt 12 in the first quarter, McGrath 7, and Peter Wright 12 with 8 marks.
So Zach Merritt had 39 last week for them against Geelong. Gets onto the left boot here. Kicks inside the 50. Right with a run and jump. Couldn't pull it in. Francis in the pocket. Dragged down by Adams across the line. Out for a throw in deep in the left forward pocket here for Essendon. Kicking to the Lockett end to start us off the left of your radio dial in this second term.
Umpire spins the ball back into play. Draper against McInerney. McInerney wins the tap. Sharp can't collect for the Lions and then just paddles it across the line for a minor score. Essendon moved to 4-6-30. The Lions 1-1-7. Minute played in this second term. Neil brings the ball back in for the Lions from the right back pocket. Kicks long down the wing. A couple of Bombers crash into each other and it spills the way of the Lions. McCarthy to McCluggage. Has a bounce in front of the interchange gates. Kicks long towards half forward. Front position was Ridley, spills out the back. Heppel collects, gives it off to Cox, who handballs to McGrath, and then chips nicely inside the centre square. Parrish marks at centre half back.
Yeah, precision pass to Parrish, who pulls it in and goes short to Cox. He's got a runner in Redmond. Here go Essendon up the middle again. Redmond steps around one, got around a second to McGrath, hands it off. Low kick, or little dinky kick inside the 50. Beautiful touch from Merritt, and Cox worked all the way from centre half back to mark 40 metres out directly in front.
Well, this is simple football at the moment for the Bombers. All they've got to do is get their hands on the football, because the Brisbane Lions just aren't manning up. They're letting the Bombers just do whatever they like, and at the moment the Bombers should be well in front, and this doesn't surprise me at all, because it started in the first quarter and it's carried on to this second quarter where they're being unaccountable.
So Nick Cox to line things up. 45 metres out, kicks awkward off the boot. Does it work back enough? No, it never quite looked like it. Minor score. Essendon's lead 24 points, 4-7, plays 1-1, 2.5 minutes gone on Grandstand AFL.
11 scoring shots at the moment to 2 in favour of Essendon. They're really outplaying this team that played finals last year, deep into the finals.
Rich to Zorko with chip short. Danaher marks a long way of Holmes. Wheels around and kicks beautifully to Lyons from right half forward. Can kick into the pocket. Cameron has a bit of space and marks. Probably the best transition we've seen from the Brisbane Lions all night. Coast to coast, and Cameron has it in the right forward pocket close to the boundary line.
I thought that kick was way too far out in front of Cameron, but he turned on the jets and he got there easily and took a chest mark.
So the Lions desperately need this one to kick off the second term. It's in the hands of Charlie Cameron. Just a little bit too much on the curl. Misses to the right-hand side. Essendon 4-7-31. Brisbane 1-2-8. 4 minutes played in the second.
Number 23 makes it a 23-point margin once more. Don's controlling the footy outside the defensive 50. Merritt exchanges the hand pass. Ridley's kick dangerous. Redmond knocked it out of the hands of Cameron, maybe illegally. Gave the handball to Parrish, hemmed in along the boundary line, up and under, and Zorko, like an outfielder standing under a high catch, he's able to judge that through the air and pull it into his chest. To the front point of the square now for Bailey. Bailey lays it off inside the 50. Cameron among a couple, chases it toward the boundary line. The Bombers got enough pressure there on the ball to see it over for a throw-in. Right forward pocket, 25 metres out from their goal here, Brisbane, but it's been at least a better start for them here in this second term.
Just need more patience from Bailey there. He saw Danaher run and he just kicked it straight away.
So umpire spins it back into play. Fist towards the boundary line. Neil, hand up against the line. Nice trap by Danaher. Gives it to McStay. Handballs off to Sharp, who's run himself into trouble. Spills to Danaher, but it was holding the ball. The free kick going the way of Cox.
Unusual way to pick up the ball by Joe Danaher. It skimmed off the ground and got caught between his thighs. And sort of plucked it out of there.
He can do anything.
Yeah, saved the goal there, Cox. That was going to be a certain goal to Sharp. If he didn't nail that tackle, he was around. He would have ran all the way in, kicked it from point blank range.
Rising star nominee, of course, last year. Nick Cox goes short to Ridley. Ridley exits the defensive 50, but McStay picks it off for Brisbane at left half forward.
Finally getting some repeat entries.
Well, that's good signs for Brisbane. McStay, he didn't get a mark until the last quarter last week.
He drops it inside the 50. It's off hands. Bailey, we know he's a good finisher. You don't need to give him too many chances. And Zach Bailey burns away and burns Essendon on the turnover. But the Lions with their second of the game, 2-2-14 to the Bombers, 4-7-31. We've played 6 minutes here in this second term on Grandstand AFL. Before the thoughts of Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson, let's head boundary side. Lauren Borden.
Just on Dane Zorko, watch down here. He's back on the boundary getting a massage on that Achilles, so it could be a bit of a match where he gets nursed through this game.
First time, Jono, we've had some repeat entries from Brisbane Lions. They've managed to get their defenders out of their defensive 50 up in front of the centre line. McStay marking the footy as it was actually coming back out, which was good. What I like from Bailey then, he got the front and centre crumb. Most players would sort of take 5 steps and try and snap that one. But he ran his good 10-15 metres, burnt off the player that was trying to tackle him and had a shot from dead in front. So really composed forward play.
So 20 inside 50s to 6 Essendon's way in the first quarter. And the Lions have 3 already from the restart. The umpires found a free kick going the way of Brisbane. The ball is going the way of Essendon. McGrath has it at centre half back. So McGrath kicks out wide. It's 2-on-1 favouring the Bombers. Heppel goes in, can't collect. Now Cox has a go, spun around and just let it go, and that is holding the ball. Free kick going the way of Daniel Rich.
All-Australian last year, Daniel Rich was out there under the roof earlier warming up with a hat on.
Yep, yeah, it's a common routine for Richie.
As is customary. It looks very strange under the roof.
Done that last week as well, and he's done it all year last year.
Oh, thumps it inside the forward 50. It's roved beautifully by McCarthy, who raised the fist as soon as it left his boot. And Brisbane peg a couple back in quick time. The Lions back to 11 points behind the Bombers, 3-2-20 to Essendon, 4-7-31. 7.5 minutes gone here in this second term.
Well, it's a return from their small forwards. You spoke about it before, Berkey, around Bailey able to get front and square. That was the same thing. Front and square, couple of steps, but that's what they rely on a lot. They rely on their small forwards to get on top of those medium defenders without trying to focus on their tall targets so much up forward line. But that was he just snuck it in, but just the instincts of actually turning around and measuring that goal up was fantastic. They call that goal sense back in the day.
There's no defensive sense from the defenders at the Bombers who've allowed 2 front centre goals, which they should never do.
So Brisbane winning out of the centre again. Rayner handballs backwards to McInerney, who just kicks it along the ground. It's intercepted by Hine, who kicks long down the line. Ham's marked. He's got it on the wing, dock side. He's just held up play. Numbers have flood back inside the 50. Just has to load up and send it to a pack of players. Francis with the fly from behind. Couldn't bring down the mark. Guelphy has a go. Handballs back looking for Francis. The umpires found a free kick. Going to Guelphy, was just held onto it after he disposed of it. He's got a free kick right against the boundary line, 40 metres out.
It was a clumsy in the back, it was, Jess. It was just Adams. Adams just fell over and just clumsy. Didn't turn it around at all.
Guelphy centres the ball, kicks to the hot spot. It's off hands. Andrews collects. Couldn't get boot to ball. McCluggage has a go, gives it to Rayner, who unloads with a torp straight down the centre of Docklands, but it's intercepted by the Bombers.
It was a very nice tube. That was like Zach Tui here last year, just launching one straight up the pipe. Laverty was able to clutch it somewhat awkwardly, goes short to Kelly. And now back to Laverty, just defensive side of the wing on the broadcast side. Essendon by 11 points. Only 10 minutes gone here in this second term. They led by 22 at quarter time, the Bombers. Laverty kicks up the line toward half forward, off a couple of sets of hands. Smith knocked it onto Guelphy. Wonderful vision. Kicks across the forward 50 and finds the waiting arms of Aaron Francis. 46 metres out, almost directly in front.
Poor checking there by Adams. He hasn't had a great couple of minutes. He gave away the free kick a little bit earlier, and now he was almost 40 metres away from him, Berkey. He had no chance. If he had even had an extra 5 seconds, there was no way he was going to get to Francis. He needed to close that space up a little bit earlier.
Big year for Aaron Francis, out of contract at the end of the year. 2 goals, 6 last season. From just outside 50, launches it. Won't have the carry or the accuracy. On the last line, Gardner right on the goal line. Thought about walking it through. We saw the Swans muck this same situation up last night. He chipped to the pocket, and getting in there to intervene is Cutler, who forces a throw in inside the forward 50 for the Bombers. So not quite how the Lions wanted that to work out.
So margin 11 points. The Lions have kicked the first 2 goals of this second quarter from the boundary throw in. Neil Roves handballs to Rayner. Rush kick around the corner. It's a high one to the wing. Standing underneath it is Kelly. Has he hurt himself? Looks a little bit sore, but he gets back up.
Jarred the hip on the landing then. That was a really awkward dismount.
So from the wing, kicks down the line. Ham couldn't bring in the mark. Does the work at ground level though. Gives it to Cutler. From left half forward to a dangerous position close to goal. Is still kept alive on the goal line. Francis handballs over his head. Stringer, was he collected high? Driven to the turf. The umpire says, I'll have it. And McCluggage with the tackle, giving him the benefit of the doubt. Ball up inside 50 for Essendon.
Clever spoil by Peter Wright there. He's running towards the goals, but he actually spoiled it back into play, gave his Crummers a chance.
Heath Chapman style for the Dockers. That off out of bounds on the full off the boot of Neil then.
Yep. It certainly was. Very clumsy there, Joel.
Running toward the boundary line and just toe poked it out. And so Tom Cutler will have a chance from the left forward pocket. Sub last week, the former Lion, played 66 games in 6 seasons up in Queensland. Curls it around on the right boot here. And it just flares out to the right-hand side, a minus score. So Essendon with 3 behinds here in the term. They lead by 12 points.
Brisbane are quick to bring it back into play.
I reckon Lions here, Berkey, they've just got to hang on to this ball for a fair while and just trying to own it for a bit.
Berry swings it to Zorko, kicks down the line. Lions gives it to Danaher. Handball inboard to McCluggage, who's brought to ground. Play on, says the umpire. Gives it back to Danaher. Quick kick inside 50 for the Lions. Cameron was held and has got the free kick. 40 metres out, 45-degree angle to the right.
Don't agree with that, Berkey. It was just, I thought it was just in the contest, and he was just trying to make sure he doesn't get away more than anything else. I don't think there was a hold there, that's for sure.
No, it seems that they've brought in the interpretation that if you are the defender and any arm comes around to the front of your opponent, that's deemed a hold.
It's almost like a hug.
So Charlie Cameron for 3 in a row to Brisbane from just inside 50, and he is pumped, and the Lions are back in business. Essendon 4-8-32, Brisbane 4-2-26. The margin is cut to 6 points, 14 minutes played in the second term. Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke are experts on Grandstand AFL.
I really believe, Berkey, they just need to, I think I said it about 30 seconds ago, that they just need to own the ball a little bit. They've done well, they've gotten back into the game. You know, it's still only 6 scoring shots to 12 at the moment. I think Essendon look better when they do go forward. They look dangerous, and I think the Lions at the moment, they just need to own it and just starve Essendon of the football.
And I think one way of doing that is bringing Danaher up around the middle of the ground. The last 2 forward entries, he's had a role to play here on the wing. So get Danaher up, use him to go slow through the middle, and then get it quick to Charlie. Charlie looks like the most dangerous forward. The last 3 goals have been kicked by their smalls. So let's go small and get Joe up the ground.
3 in a row for the Lions from the restart. Fort slaps it forward. Here is Charlie now up the ground. Collects it half forward. Lays it off into the pocket. And Joe's on the end of it.
Or I could just be completely wrong and say, bring Charlie up the ground.
The opposite, Berkey.
And push Joe back in deep.
Berkey, I wasn't going to say anything.
Swings around, and Joe's got one against the old mob. Talk about mixed emotions for Essendon fans. They cheer the mark, they jeer the kick, and Joe brings things all square. 32 apiece, the Bombers 4-8, Brisbane 5-2, the Lions with 4 on the bounce.
Well, nothing's changed. When he played for Essendon, they booed him, and now he's playing for the Lions, they're still booing him.
Except he kicked the goal this time. That was one of the few centre clearances the Lions have actually gotten, which allowed Joe to get down there and go one-on-one against his opponent, which we know one-on-one, kick the ball in the air, give him half a chance, and he'll mark those. So a little bit of a swing in momentum here. The Lions are starting to get their hands on the footy in those contested parts of the game.
So Brisbane have come alive at Docklands. They've kicked the last 4, and we've got a tied ball game from the restart. Parrish has coughed it up. Lions gives it to Zorko, tumbles a kick towards half forward, playing in front. Redmond marks just inside the arc.
It was a poor kick by Zorko. He had time to get a drop punt and get extra distance on it. He just threw it on his foot. So a play with other things on his mind, that was like.
Redmond flares it out wide to Heppel, who kicks inboard to Parrish. It goes back to Redmond, and now they've coughed it up again. Zorko chips short to Danaher. He can wheel around from 50 metres out, does the team thing, pokes it into space. Cockatoo's marked it 40 metres out directly in front.
Well, last time it was Danaher Cockatoo last week. It was on the siren, top of the goal square. But well done there by Joe. Could have blazed away on his left side and actually had a shot at those goals, but just pulled that kick. Nakai wasn't even realising that he was on. He just turned around at the right time and took a nice chest mark.
Cockatoo has put Brisbane back in front with a set shot goal. They're in front for the first time, I think, this afternoon. 17 minutes played in the second term. They moved to 6-2-38. Essendon 4-8-32.
Well, the Bombers are doing what the Lions did. Redmond came streaming off the half-back line and then handballed to a teammate who wasn't even looking, at his back to him, and just turned it straight over to Zorko. And you got to feel for the Essendon defence, because they were all streaming forward, as they should have been in that passage of play. But when your teammate handballs the ball straight to the opposition, well, it's a fair chance it's going to be a goal at the other end. So the Bombers at the moment, they're the ones who now need to say, you know what, we're mucking things up here. Let's just slow down. Let's just maintain possession. Let's get the game back on our terms.
Certainly king to the scoring end, to that right of screen, so to speak. 9-1 up toward the Coventry end to start us off, and the Lions take it out of the middle once more. Redmond inside the defensive 50 for the Bombers. Handball to Heppel, tries to work his way through the traffic. Fort smashes it back the other way. High tackle from McCarthy. No, not paid by the umpire. Neutral inside the forward 50 will have a ball up. Lions into attack. Someone's lost their boot. It's Mason Redmond who chucks it out of the way. Draper goes with two hands in ruck. Knocks it down. Clearance from Hine. Finds Guelphy inside the centre square. Got a shove from Ford. Umpire says that was okay. Flares it wide looking for Durham, who goes up. Did enough to knock it down to Cox and then receives the hand pass. Low kick inside the 50. Was through the hands of Caldwell. Adams there in defence for the Lions to Answorth, who drives them up the outer side.
Stewart with the fist brings the ball to ground only as far as Neil, close up against the boundary line. Just kicks one around the corner. It lands into the path of McStay, who's got it centre wing position outer side, drills a pass down the line to Danaher. As you can tell by the crowd, quick to give it off. Rayner to Rich, left half forward, crosses 50, delivers a pass to McCarthy. It spills over the back. McCluggage in the goal square. Almost a push in the back, gets back up and then is tackled by a couple right on the goal line.
Almost a touch.
He didn't think his way through that one. He was on all fours, but his butt was facing the goal. Only a metre out. He couldn't get himself anchored around the other way.
And he gives away the free kick for holding the ball.
The worst thing he did was stand up. Yeah. It seems completely counterintuitive. Lions by a goal. They've kicked 5-0 here in this second term. Ball kick out from the Bombers. Fort marks. Handball to Zorko. Zorko to full forward. Laverty stands under it and relieves and then just says, righto, let's just control things for a moment here. They have lost their grasp on this game. Essendon led by 22 points at quarter time. Now trail by 6. Laverty's kick outside the defensive 50. Cut off by Gardner. There's just a bit of breakdown in communication for the moment here for Essendon. Handball off to Zorko. Again to full forward. One hand for Danaher. Couldn't mark. Laverty's there again. Nervous handball across the defensive goal square. Hine got in there to break things up. Handball to Rich, who's dangerous in this possession. To Adams. Adams low kick to full forward. And the mark taken. Rayner. 25 out, 45-degree angle, left of centre.
I was watching the Essendon defenders then. The ball went outside their defensive 50, and it was pretty obvious that the Lions had the extra number there. It was going to come back in, and all of them stood there just filling grass, holding a space. None of them went to a Lions play. If Rayner didn't mark that, there was another 3 Lions who could have.
Missed all of last year, Cam Rayner, through a knee injury. He is such a welcome return to this Brisbane side. And the Lions charge in to celebrate with one of their young stars who kicks his first goal since returning from injury and gives Brisbane their 6th in a row and a 12-point break. 7-2-44 to Essendon 4-8-32. We've played 21 minutes on Grandstand AFL. Your experts are Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson.
Well, the momentum's changed a little bit at the moment with the Lions getting it all their way at the minute there. Their defence have come right up at the moment, and we spoke about it earlier in this quarter that the repeat inside forward 50s for Brisbane has been pretty good. They've been able to do that, and that's again repeat inside forward 50s, defenders up, defenders well more better placed to enter that ball inside their forward 50.
So 6 goals in 15 minutes to the Lions after they only kicked 1 in the opening term, and they win it again out of the centre. Neil to Berry, throws it on the boots, a bit of a taunt, looking for Danaher. Spills to ground, out the back, Kelly for the Dons, gives it to Laverty. Kick around the corner, Lions have the numbers. Spills to the feet of Answorth, ricochets over the line for a boundary throw in between wing and half forward for Brisbane.
Centre clearances 5-2 in favour of the Lions.
Better turnaround since quarter time. Last time Brisbane played here against Carlton last year, they had a massive second term. They're doing the same here against the Dons this afternoon. Clearance for Essendon up toward right on the wing. Oh, Caldwell. Clean pair of heels through the traffic. Throws it on the left boot to half forward. Adams the only player there in the vicinity. Collects for Brisbane at half-back. Handball along the boundary line to Starcevic. Touched off the boot. Writes a weight to it, but got bumped down by Andrews. And then Answorth got in the back of Caldwell, not paid. Andrews lays on the bottom of it all. Can't get the footy out. Just forward of the wing for Essendon on the broadcast side. We'll have a ball up. Lions by 12 points. The only 6 goals in this second term, all going the way of Brisbane through 23 minutes.
Merritt to Parrish. Rush kick inside 50. Lovely mark by Wright again. Another contested possession for Peter Wright.
Sorry, Jess. He's touching Harris Andrews up at the moment. He's beaten an All-Australian here. He's been All-Australian a couple of times, I think, now. He's actually beaten him in the contest, beaten him on the lead, beaten him with just football smarts.
So it's Wright's 10th mark of the afternoon, coming up for disposal number 13. He's already kicked 2 goals. This a tough shot, 50 metres out against the boundary line. He lets it go. It looks pretty good. In fact, it's brilliant. Wright has 3, and that is exactly what the doctor ordered for the Bombers. 5-8-38, they trail Brisbane 7-2-44. 25 minutes played in the second term.
Well, sometimes you need just a bit of individual brilliance to actually get your team back and steady, and that's all that was. It was just a hack kick out of a stoppage and a one-on-one mark between Wright and Harris Andrews, and Wright read the ball far better, but lovely set shot for goal to Wright where the 50-metre line hits the boundary, and it was as straight as an arrow.
I'm calling it. I reckon he's best on ground. He's best on ground at the moment. The way he's presented up the ground, the way he's presented inside his forward 50. He's kicked 3 goals. I think he's had 13 possessions as well. He's had 8 marks at the same time. So at the moment, Peter Wright is the man on the ground.
Chris Johnson putting his hand up to do the votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year. Clearly, Berkey.
Yep.
Jono's duty for the rest of the evening, I think.
Votes are easy to give. It's just got to make sure to give it to the right people.
Ball back in the middle. Caldwell handball to Merritt, who thumps it forward. Coming the other way is Answorth, who drives the Lions inside the 50. Through the hands of Ridley. A free kick going to Essendon.
Yeah, that was lucky too, because I think it was Archie running into an open goal if the umpire didn't blow that one.
Ridley to Laverty inside the back 50 for the Bombers. 5-8 plays 7-2. A goal the difference earlier today at the MCG. Collingwood by 7 goals over Adelaide in a game that had plenty of drama with an almost evacuation due to a fire alarm going off at the MCG. A little bit later this evening. For most of our audience, you'll be headed to the Adelaide Oval for Port Adelaide and Hawthorn. For our audience on News Radio in Queensland, it's the Gold Coast and Melbourne to continue your Saturday night of footy on Grandstand.
Throw in on the wing. McGrath handballs to Draper. Kick around the corner. Right again in a one-on-one against Andrews. This time spills to ground. Adams collects for the Lions. Kicks out wide, looking for Neil. Coming across with the fist is Durham. Sends it across the boundary line, and we've got a ball in.
Jake Stringer started in the middle. He spent the first 5 minutes there. He spent this whole quarter as the deepest forward for Essendon and completely out of the play.
So throw in on the wing. Draper palms it down to Caldwell. Caldwell, who gets a free kick for high. So he's got it just forward of the wing.
Poor effort by Berry.
Caldwell loads up. Kicks to a pack in the pocket. Wright has a fly. Couldn't bring down the mark. Off hands, Rich. Handball looking for Berry. Coming through, Merritt wins the footy. Gives it to McGrath. Handball's inboard to Francis. Tackled by Starcevic. Handballs to space. Coming through, Draper. Collects. Gives it to Smith. Handballs to Perkins. Evades 1. Evades 2. Has a look at the goals. Brilliant by... Oh, he's just missed. That would have been some goal. Misses and hits the post, in fact. So Brisbane leads 7-2-44. Essendon 5-9-39. 27 played second term.
He looks like a different footballer, Archie Perkins, without the locks going on. I had to take a second look for him there.
Quite literally a different footballer. I think he had a bit of cult status going about him last year with the hair, and he's chopped it all off, but still the same level of talent. Was very good last week and showed his class there. Just couldn't squeeze the finish home. The Bombers turn it over, going from the wing to half forward. Zorko's taken the mark and got up proppy. Still on Zorko watch. Of course, he was the sub last week, and he can't even walk now. He waves them off on the bench. Andrews inside the defensive 50. Low kick to the back edge of the arc where Starcevic has got it. Had such a good season last year. Top 5 in the best and fairest for the Lions. Wants to come back to Zorko, the captain and the 5-time best and fairest winner. Up short for Neil, who presents, and Durham's right there with him every step of the way again, but chopped the arms. And it'll be the Brownlow medalist to take a free kick for the Lions at half-back.
Well, just under 2 minutes to go now, and I think the Lions are just going to ease things down, just a slow tempo.
So they've moved the ball to centre half back. Gardner straight down the corridor to Bailey, who's marked inside the centre square. Kicks out wide to Cockatoo. Marks on the outer side wing. Chips it forward to Gardner, who kept running. He's got it just forward of the wing. Wants to switch it inboard to Starcevic. Elects to just load up and kick it into the pocket. Danaher in front, off hands. Bailey read it well. Stripped of it by Ridley. Ball alive inside the Lions forward 50. Laverty taps it to Merritt, who then gives it to Hind. Around the corner. It's a tough ball to mark, but doing really well is Starcevic. He's got it at left half forward with Brisbane.
Goes inside the centre square, laterally to Andrews. He has Rich on across the centre circles. Directs some traffic, ball in hand. Chips it short to Gardner. Just in front of the AFL logo on the City side. Lions by 5. 29 and a half minutes gone here in this second term. Gardner goes long inside the forward 50. Danaher, big rise, can't pull it in at the front of the pack. Saw some bodies go flying among all that. Oscar McInerney's in there. He jams it toward goal. Off hands. Redmond sets chase after it. Hot on his Hamarachi, drags him down. Got the handball away. McGrath inside the defensive 50 for the Bombers. Ridley left it behind. Cameron swoops. A step. A handball to Lyons. Lyons around the body inside the 50. Oscar McInerney gave up on that pretty quickly as it was headed toward the boundary line, and we'll have a throw in. Lions deep in attack, looking for a late one here in this first half.
Jeez, he got up, didn't he?
It's one of those ones where you jump and there's about 5 players underneath you.
So from the throw-in, Caldwell handballs backwards looking for Merritt. He can't collect as the siren sounds here at Dockland Stadium. What a quarter it was from the Brisbane Lions. 6-1. They lead at 7-2-44. Essendon 5-9-39. Your goal kickers, Peter Wright has 3 for Essendon, 1 each to Perkins and Devon Smith, and all singles for Brisbane. Danaher, McCluggage, McCarthy, Cockatoo, Rayner, Cameron and Bailey.
Entertaining second term. It was certainly pretty fast as far as the Lions were concerned after a slow start to the game. And Peter Wright really ripping apart the opening quarter for Essendon. Brisbane righted the ship. They got the first goal, their first goal at the 6-minute mark, and then piled on another 5 in the ensuing 15 minutes. It was a withering burst of football from Brisbane, and it sees them 5 points to the good at half-time. Trying to go 2 and zip to start their campaign. The Bombers trying to avoid going zip and 2. Of course, both of these sides started winless through their first 2 last year. It's Essendon 7-2-44 to, Brisbane 7-2-44 to Essendon 5-9-39. Earlier today at the MCG, in our earlier broadcast game, it was Collingwood getting the chocolates over Adelaide. So Craig McRae staying unbeaten as Collingwood coach in his first couple of games. The Pies 15-10-100 defeating the Crows 8-10-58, so an even 7 goals. Ollie Henry with 2 goals, Nathan Kruger with 2 on debut for the Pies. Scott Pendlebury with 28 touches. Ben Keys had 37 for Adelaide, and Brodie Smith had 30 and a goal. Later tonight, Port Adelaide and Hawthorn from the Adelaide Oval. Gold Coast and Melbourne, the other game for our Queensland News Radio audience on the Gold Coast. Half-time, the Lions by 5. for their thoughts on the opening half and their analysis. Three-time Brisbane Lions premiership player Chris Johnson and St Kilda 300-gamer Nathan Burke on Grandstand AFL.
They started well, Essendon, didn't they? With Merritt and Parrish and McGrath and, the midfielders. And we know they were able to do it last week, Berkey, but it was the key around Big Peter Wright presenting up forward, going to him at certain stages. And in the first quarter, it was basically the Lions were mucking around with it. They couldn't keep their hands on the football. They wanted to play fast, handball football through the middle of the ground. They didn't want to go forward, and then Essendon just kept moving forward as much as they possibly could in the first quarter. And then in the second quarter, well, the likes of Zorko, Neal, Rich really got involved. The two backs, Rich and Adams, got involved as well. And, they started getting the inside forward 50s back sort of on their terms a little bit in the Brisbane Lions. They're still a little bit behind at the moment. I think it's 7. But they're getting the ball inside their forward 50 a little bit more and, not mucking around with it as much. Once they get forward to centre, they're just pumping the ball inside their forward 50, which gives forwards an opportunity.
The Lions, I really like their spread of goal kickers. So they've kicked 7 goals, they've had 7 individual goal kickers, and a lot of them coming from the smalls. So Danaher, obviously, he's got the 1 goal, but it was really the smalls working up forward that did the job for him in that quarter, with Cockatoo, McCarthy, Bailey, Cameron, Rayner, all kicking goals as well, and that made a huge difference because the Essendon defenders, they don't really like to man up one-on-one. They just like to get back, fill space. When the ball hits the ground, we'll get numbers there, and away we go. So if they can move the ball with a really good direction inside forward 50, those small players, I can see them really hitting the scoreboard again in that second half. So the Essendon defenders need to tighten up there. But through the middle of the ground, centre clearances, it was 6-0 in favour of Essendon in that first quarter. It was 6-2 in favour of the Lions in that second quarter. So they really turned that around. Inside 50s for the quarter, 17-10 in favour of the Lions, where in the first quarter it was 20-6 in favour of the Bombers. So the Bombers started to just fiddle around with the football. Handball to players who weren't really expecting it, didn't really want the ball, and it made it difficult going inside forward 50. Thank goodness for Peter Wright. He only had 1 possession that quarter, but luckily it was a goal. And so he's got 3 for the game, really keeping them in it at this stage. So, look, it's been a half of 2 halves completely at the moment. Which side can come out and put it together in the second half? It's up for grabs completely, this game, but I get the sense now that Brisbane are saying, oh, yeah, we've woken up, we've arrived, and this is how we want to play the game. So I get the sense, just get the feel that they're going to run away with it. But the Bombers, well, we saw what they did the first quarter, but how much of that was their great play and how much of it was the Lions being asleep? I think there's a little bit more the Lions being asleep rather than the Bombers just absolutely blitzing.
And the good sides often, Jono, the really good sides like Brisbane have been over the last few years, you can jump them, but you can't keep them down.
Exactly, and what I noticed then, especially in that last 2.5 minutes, is that they were able to play their own tempo football. They kept the ball away from Essendon as much as they possibly could, and that's whether they're listening to each other out there or something's coming from the bench. I think in the first quarter, and certainly parts of that second quarter, they just wanted to keep going. They just wanted to play fast football, and it wasn't working for them. But Berkey, you're spot on around those small forwards. I don't think Danaher's almost going to be a decoy, I think, at certain stages, because he's drawn 3 or 4 defenders to him, and those small forwards, Rayner popped up there as well and kicked the goal. I think they're going to play a massive part in the second half as well. I think they look better when Danaher's up the ground, the Lions. They look much, much better when they're up the ground. And I think for the Bombers, I think, they've got to try, and I don't know whether they do it off the bench or not, but the Stringer needs to be in the middle of the ground. He needs to be in the middle of the ground. He's the one that sort of got it going in that first quarter around the clearances, but even his presence, his bigger body, and even his smarts, just to get in between the Brisbane Lions player and his own player to give a little bit more time to execute the skill. I think that's a key. They need to have him in that midfield as much as possible, but then the question is, has he got the tank to do that, this early in the season? So I know he's had a sort of minimal preparation coming in to the season this year. didn't play last week. So that's going to be a real struggle for Rutten and his team, the coaching team. What do we do with Stringer? We look better when he's down forward, yes, but I think he's going to be more utilised in the middle of the ground. 6 disposals, 3 score involvements. So when he's getting the football, he's certainly efficient in terms of being involved in some of their better passages of play for Essendon, but they just like to see him get a little bit more of the ball with the Bombers. They trail by 5 points at half-time under the roof here at Docklands. Brisbane with 6 goals in the second term to go into the main break, 7-2-44 to Essendon 5-9-39. Referencing that earlier game at the MCG today, Collingwood by 42 points over Adelaide. We'll hear from Brodie Grundy and his thoughts on that game very soon. He caught up with Andrew Mays as part of our grandstand team. We'll get you to that. We'll take a look at everything happening in the world of sport and then bring you the second half here from Docklands very soon. That's all coming up on the other side of the latest from ABC News.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. The Prime Minister is denying the coalition has bungled the handling of Australia's foreign policy in the Pacific, giving China the opportunity to expand its influence in the region. Concerns are being raised about a draft security pact between the Chinese and Solomon Islands governments, laying the groundwork for greater defence and security ties between the two nations. Labor says the coalition talks tough on China, yet has allowed it to muscle in on Australia's traditional sphere of influence in the Pacific. Scott Morrison says the coalition will continue efforts to convince the Solomon Islands Prime Minister to continue partnering with Australia on security matters.
Well, ultimately, these are the decisions of sovereign governments. And the communication we had yesterday from Prime Minister Sogavare was that he greatly appreciates the incredible support. We are the Solomon Islands' single largest development partner.
A military strategist and analyst says Russia's decision to announce a change in its strategy for fighting in Ukraine is an attempt by Moscow to claim they're winning the war. A top Russian military official says the first phase of its military campaign in Ukraine is complete and they'll now focus on the complete liberation of the Donbass region in the east of the country. Major General Mick Ryan says with Russia failing to obtain a quick and decisive victory, they're now changing their aims so President Vladimir Putin can declare victory.
If I was the Russians, that's probably what I'd be saying, given the debacle that the invasion of Ukraine has become. Putin and his generals have been looking for some kind of victory that they could portray to their own people and the rest of the world for several weeks now.
Meanwhile, European Union leaders have agreed for the first time to make joint gas purchases in response to surging prices partly caused by the war in Ukraine. The BBC's Jessica Parker explains.
The idea is that the European Union uses its collective bargaining power in order to purchase energy at a more favourable rate. The scheme is voluntary, but leaders said they would work together on the common purchase of gas, LNG and hydrogen. Officials have also been ordered to examine the more contentious idea of price caps, a policy which Spain has led the charge on, but is resisted by some countries who fear it could distort the market. The cost of energy in Europe and supply are issues that have been turbocharged following President Putin's decision to invade Ukraine.
The US is calling for tougher sanctions on North Korea after its latest missile test. It follows the North's test this week of the largest intercontinental ballistic missile it's fired to date. The US has told the UN Security Council it's increasing dangerous provocation, but Russia and China oppose the imposition of any more measures against North Korea. A summit of African leaders is calling for the preservation of democratic values following military takeovers in West Africa. Mali and Burkina Faso have both had military coups as governments have struggled with an ongoing jihadist insurgency in the Sahel region. The leaders promised to remove sanctions on Mali and not impose them on Burkina Faso if they act to protect democratic values. WA Health is reporting 2 historic COVID-19 deaths as the state records 7,535 new infections. A teenage boy and a man in his 90s have died. There are currently 194 people in hospital and 8 in ICU. Both figures are down from yesterday. WA's total number of active cases is 46,822. The Victorian government says it's increasing funding for the state's emergency service call-taking system following revelations 000 calls were being sent to a recorded message. Telstra says all 000 callers from a state with an extreme event procedure are answered with a recorded message providing another phone number for non-emergency calls and with messages saying 000 is extremely busy. Victorian Assistant Treasurer Danny Pearson says the government's provided 43 extra call takers and more than $110 million in extra funding.
What we're seeing at the moment is ESTA, our ambulance service and our hospitals placed under unprecedented pressure as a consequence of the global pandemic. Now, I don't think Victoria is unique here. I think that these services right around the country are being placed under extraordinary levels of pressure.
This afternoon's AFL match between Collingwood and Adelaide at the MCG had to be stopped temporarily due to a false evacuation alarm. The Melbourne Cricket Club says the ground's emergency evacuation system was automatically triggered in a food outlet on level 4 of the Ponsford stand, but an immediate investigation found no evidence of risk to patrons. Spectators were initially ordered to leave the ground while players and officials gathered in the middle of the field for several minutes. You can get more news from our website at abc.net.au/news.
ABC Sport now has its very own newsletter, and we'd be pumped to have you on board.
The ABC of Sport will provide a wrap of all the best stuff that's happening in sport every week.
Simply go to abc.net.au/connect
and get ready for a sport hit in your inbox every Friday.
Get on board with the ABC of Sport newsletter
for content that makes you think
or allows you not to.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
McStay picks it off for Brisbane at left half forward. Drops it inside the 50. It's off hands. Bailey, we know he's a good finisher. You don't need to give him too many chances. And Zach Bailey burns away and burns Essendon on the turnover. Dumps it inside the forward 50. It's rove beautifully by McCarthy, who raised the fist as soon as it left his boots.
Charlie Cameron for 3 in a row to Brisbane from just inside 50, and he is pumped and the Lions are back in business.
Here is Charlie now up the ground, collects it half forward, lays it off into the pocket, and Joe's on the end of it, swings around, and Joe's got one against the old mob.
Zorko chips short to Danaher. He can wheel around from 50 metres out, does the team thing, pokes it into space. Cockatoo's marked it. Cockatoo has put Brisbane in front with a set shot goal. So it's right, he's already kicked 2 goals. This a tough shot, 50 metres out against the boundary line. He lets it go. It looks pretty good. In fact, it's brilliant. Wright has 3. That is exactly what the doctor ordered for the Bombers.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Was an important goal from Peter Wright, his 3rd of the game, brought it back to a 1-kick match. That's where it stands at half-time. It is Brisbane 7-2-44 to Essendon 5-9-39 here on Grandstand AFL under the roof at Docklands on a beautiful autumn afternoon in Melbourne. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster calling it for you. Brisbane Lions champion Chris Johnson and St Kilda champ and of course, Western Bulldogs AFLW coach Nathan Burke, your experts, and Lauren Borden on the boundary. A couple of games tonight for most of our audience. You'll be headed to the Adelaide Oval, where Port Adelaide take on Hawthorn, Gold Coast and Melbourne for our audience on Queensland News Radio. Earlier today at the MCG, a big win to Collingwood, who go 2-0 to start the season, 100-58 over the Crows by 42 points. And Brodie Grundy caught up with our own Andrew Mays on Grandstand AFL after the win.
Brodie Grundy, we might start with the most bizarre incident of the day, a fire alarm in the middle of the second quarter. What were you thinking when that happened?
Probably the worst, to be honest. It was actually pretty scary, sort of doomsday stuff. But, fortunately it was a false alarm. So, we tried to stay focused and get on with the job.
What did you say out in the middle? Because all the players from both teams all of a sudden had to get as close to the middle as possible. What was the instructions then?
Basically just stay together and, just sort of stay focused on the job at hand. I think there was a few whispers that there was like a fire and then it sort of came through as a false alarm, and then we just tried to stay focused and get on with the job.
First couple of minutes after the restart, were you able to switch back on pretty quickly?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's been a weird couple of years in footy, so that was just another to add to the list. Tell us about the challenge today. I mean, you've got so many young players coming through this group, such a different group from a couple of years ago, and you've had a big pre-season as a leader yourself. Tell us about those youngsters that are coming through and how well the likes of Dacos, etc., have gotten and bought into this game plan.
Yeah, Flyers obviously come in and set a really strong expectation around, creating winning habits, and whether we win or lose, we just want to keep those winning habits really strong. And the young lads have really absorbed that, and we're seeing evidence of that when they're playing, and they're also playing to their strengths. We've got Ollie Henry, who's flying for marks and kicking goals. Nick Dacos getting the ball in his hands. He's using his skills. Jack Ginnivan, time and space around goal is very dangerous as well. So there's lots to be excited about if you're a Magpie supporter.
And a pretty new midfield group as well. Obviously, you've got a few experience in heads there, but Pendlebury going back to the back line. Do you have to take on more of an instructional role out there yourself?
We like to think that the leadership is sort of evenly spread in there, and obviously myself and Tay have been in there for a while. But yeah, obviously Scott provides a really cool, calm, experienced head in there, and he sees the ball really well from that defensive position, and we're always going to lean on him from time to time.
And 2 in a row, big week next week against the Cats, and it must be a really good feeling in their post-match as well.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know when the last time we were 2-0 to start the year, but it's just good reinforcement without projecting too much. It's just good reinforcement, mate, for the summer that we've had, and sticking to process. As I said earlier, we're just trying to create winning habits, whether we're winning or losing. Just coming back to that process, as cliche as it is. So we'll look to get back to that next week against the Cats.
Good luck. Thanks, Brody.
Thank you so much.
Brody Grundy there with Andrew Mays to answer Brody's question. 2013, the last time the Pies went 2-0 to start the season. So Craig McRae's got them up and playing some very good football. Players just about ready here for the second half between Essendon and Brisbane. 6 goals in that second term to the Lions. They trailed by 22 points at quarter time. They lead by 5 at the half. Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke, what are we expecting here in the second half? Jono?
I reckon at times, especially in that first quarter, I reckon, Essendon are really going to look back and the missed opportunities they had early on to put more scoreboard pressure on. So I think this quarter, one of the things they need to do is when they go forward and they do get a shot on goal, they've got to make sure they capitalise that and keep this scoreboard pressure on the Brisbane Lions.
Yeah, Bombers can't over-possess the ball for me. They look dangerous when they got it in there, allowed Peter to go 1 out against his opponent. So don't overuse the ball. If you're running forward, keep going forward. Whereas the Lions, they've got to keep getting that ball to those opportunities for those small forwards who I think can wreak havoc.
Both subs yet to be used. Jackson Pryor for the Bombers. In the first gamer, Tex Wanganeen, son of Gavin, out there for the Bombers, yet to be used. Second half underway. It is the Lions by 5 points on grandstand. Here's Jess Webster.
So McInerney palms it down straight to Parrish, who gives it off to Stringer and then loops the handball to Draper, who runs to half forward. Kick right to the goal line, fisted away by Andrews over the boundary line. No, through for a minor score, in fact. The first of the second half. Essendon 5-10-40. Trail Brisbane 7-2-44. Quick start by the Bombers, 22 seconds into the third.
That was a much better look. That was a much better look for the Bombers. We talked about Stringer being in there. If they can get a half a dozen of them, Berkey, they're going to get 6 opportunities to score.
Yep, Draper ain't no Max Gawn just yet.
No.
It was good up until the ball dropped, wasn't it?
The top spinner off the boot.
It floated forward, didn't it? It floated forward.
It was
just yet. He's only young. Give him a chance.
It's a knuckleball. That was one of his variations. If he was playing T20 cricket, Fort wins a free kick at half-back for the Lions. Shoots it short to Rich, number 1 in the kicks in the AFL last year. To Zorko inside the defensive 50. And now to Gardner. Long inside the arc for Brisbane. McCarthy up high. Oh, Draper, nice bit of roving. He whacks it a little bit more succinctly this time. Got it a long way up toward half forward off the hands of Perkins. Caldwell did the roving. Handball across the centre square to Guelphy. Essendon in the attacking half. Merritt measures the pass into the path of Stringer, who slows things up at left half forward for Essendon.
They've got a mismatch with Rich and Wright, but they haven't gone there.
Kicks it into the corridor to Parrish from centre half forward. Kicks a long one looking for Wright and a one-on-one against Andrews. It spills to Cox, who's right up against the boundary line. Throws it on the boot, looking for Perkins, who marks 20 metres out directly in front.
Yeah, really smart play there by Perkins. He resisted the temptation on his right boot to just have a snapshot and bend it around. Kept it nice and low to a player standing 20 metres out, dead in front. I'm not sure how the Lions players can think, oh, well, they're not dangerous when they're 20 metres out and I'll stand 5 metres off. But the result should be goal to Perkins.
So this for the perfect start to the second half for Essendon to restore their lead, and Perkins makes no mistake. Essendon 6-10-46. Lead Brisbane 7-2-44. Perkins has 2. The margin is 2 points the way of Essendon. 2.5 minutes played in the third. Your experts on Grandstand AFL, Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke.
Well, they should have gone there, as I said just before you took up the call, Jess, that they had a mismatch there with Wright and Rich, and Harris Andrews done well to get back, but just the smarts there, just to centre the ball, and you know, that's all you can ask for a player that's sitting on the boundary line. He's not to have that wayward shot, actually force the defenders who are defending you to defend, and they forced them to, and there was no one near, and that's what it's been a lot like at both ends of the ground, that defenders are really, really zoning off here. So, you know, we're going to be a really a good chance to see a big score here tonight, I think, especially in this second half.
I would have loved Daniel Rich to dive on Cox's boot and smother that one.
Could be a shootout here under the roof. Smith from the restart for the Bombers jams it on the boot awkwardly toward Cox. Danaher's up to meet it and sends it inside the 50, almost the mark. Front spot to Zorko, couldn't pull it in. Inside the forward 50. McCarthy a handball forward for the Lions. Stewart chops it off for the Bombers to Heppel into the back pocket. Cutler accepts it to his chest. 25 out from the goal. The Bombers are defending. Second lead change of the game sees them ahead by 2 points. Low kick up toward half back. Bounces in front of Heppel, who kept it in to the run and the speed of Hind. Inboard handball to Guelphy. Got it to Parrish and now back to Hind, who's released with 2 bounces down the city side. Goes for a third. Kicks inside the 50. Perkins had the back spot. Couldn't reel it in. Hind's kept on running. It ricocheted back to him. He handballs back to Archie Perkins, who centres it up toward Cutler. Knocked away from him. And Rich is there inside the defensive 50 for the Lions. Handball to Lions, and now to Neal, who kicks off half-back.
McCarthy has a couple to beat. It does really well to bring the contest to ground. Gives it to Fort. His handball intercepted. Bombers come up with it. Guelphy. And they might have mucked it up now. McCluggage picks it up. Is tackled to the ground by McGrath. And the Lions still win out. Rich kicks out wide to Neal, who marks at right half-back, and they can take a sigh of relief.
Neal on over the top to Berry. Just the 11 games last year for Berry. Battled injuries throughout the course of the season. It's Jared. Now to Jared Lyons. Up the line to McCarthy, who's presented a long way from home. Goes back toward Rich defensively. Essendon by 2 points, 5 minutes gone, third term. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster calling it for you. Nathan Burke, Chris Johnson, your experts. Lauren Borden on the boundary. Rich's kick on the bounce found Zorko in an acre of space at half back. He guides his pass to the wing where McCluggage has got it right on halfway in front of the interchange gates. Looks bereft of options. Puts it into the path of Cameron, who hits up at half forward. Cameron rolls around, sends it inside the 50. Can't find a target. Heppel there for the Bombers. Handball to Cox. Handball to Hind. Couldn't get away from Charlie, who dragged him down. No free kick. McGrath has it for the Bombers. Handball to Merritt. His handball knocked down. Starcevic to Cameron. Clever over his head. McCluggage inside the 50, and Fort pulls it in, gave it away. Free kick, as Nathan Burke said, and the Bombers released through Cutler at left half-back.
It didn't really need to use his hands there. He had the ball coming into his preferred area. He had his defender in front. Use your body, use your elbow, get him out of the way that way. No need to use your hands.
So Cutler's turned it over. Neil gives it to Rich, but he's caught holding the ball. Free kick going to Ham. Has it just shy of the wing. Kicks out wide to Cutler, who's marked just inside the boundary line.
Better defensive efforts there by the Bombers too. We didn't see any of that in that second quarter.
So Cutler kicks long to a one-on-one at half forward, coming across Starcevic with the fist, forces it over the boundary line for a throw-in. Left half forward for the Bombers. They lead by 2 points, 7 minutes played in the third.
Now that's playing straight into the Lions' hands. They want long kicks. They want long kicks into their forward line so they can come off their opponents and go third up like Starcevic did.
Ball tossed back in. McInerney from the paint of the defensive 50, kicks out to the wing. Laverde didn't seem all that interested in keeping it in and steps it across on the City side. Throw it back into play. Good crowd in here at Docklands this evening. Twilight footy on your Saturday afternoon here on Grandstand AFL. Boundary umpire slings it back in. Jared Lyons away from the contest for Brisbane. Up toward half forward. McStay couldn't reel it in. Oh, Stewart. Nice little spin through the traffic and then put it out of bounds on the full. So the first part of the execution was there. The second part, not so much. He blasted it out. And it'll be taken by Jared Lyons on the outer side for Brisbane.
Chips in board to Starcevic, who's marked defensive side of the wing. Just holds up play. Now off he runs, Starcevic. Long one down the line. Coming out Danaher. Ball over his head. Merritt collects for the Bombers, but he's coughed it up. McCarthy from the boundary line, squaring kick into the corridors of beauty and finds McCluggage 20 metres out directly in front.
Two things well done there by McCarthy. One, he hit the packet speed and didn't fumble the ball below his knees. As a small forward, you have to be outstanding below your knees, and he didn't. Kept the ball at pace, got himself out of trouble, and just the composure to hit McCluggage 25 metres out, dead in front. Great team play.
Kick to goal in the opening term. McCluggage to hand the lead back to Brisbane. He's got it. Brisbane back in front by 4 points. They lead 8-2-50. Essendon 6-10-46. Nearly 9 minutes travelled in the third quarter.
I really like the way both teams have started here. Look, they've both resulted. They've both kicked goals from unselfishness play. And look, I think at the moment we're not looking at I reckon the first half is going to be completely different to the second half. I reckon we're going to get a bit more of a slower paced game. We've seen the Lions already just chipping the ball around, not so fast, linking through hands and going inside their forward line, and the same with Essendon. So I think both coaches have sort of said, well, let's just slow things down a little bit, because I think on the rush, once they do that, they put all their eggs into one basket. They haven't got the energy or the capabilities to get back and defend.
Thoughts of Chris Johnson on Grandstand AFL, former Lions co-captain, couple of time All-Australian, 3-time Premiership player.
I don't know whether you can call it co-captain. There's 10 of us, Joel.
Ball out of the middle. Draper off to Merritt. Zach Merritt bursts through the 50. Classy by foot. That is no exception. He brings the Bombers fans to their feet and puts Essendon back ahead by 2 points. 7-10-52 to Brisbane, 8-2-50. Lightning response from the hosts.
Well, Zach Merritt, we know he's going to get a lot of footy. He had 21 touches in that first half, but there's days when you can get 35 and not have an influence, but that's an influential. Starting in the centre square, bursting forward, and good to see Sam Draper. He learns. He was charging through centre half forward this time. He thought, I'll just slow down a little bit and wait for Zach to catch up, and handball to him and got the great goal.
Let's head downstairs. Lauren Borden's on the boundary.
So that goal has also brought a bit more life back to Essendon's bench. Nick Cox has just run back on. He was fist pumping, so he'll be looking to use that energy now he's back on the field.
Goal for goal in the third term. Neil wins it out of the centre, pumps Brisbane back into attack. Ball spills into the pocket. Bailey can't keep it alive. We've got a throw in right forward pocket for Brisbane.
One thing that's noticeable for the Brisbane forwards, they just can't get any separation from their defenders. Unlike some of the Essendon forwards in right, he's able to get plenty of separation. So that's a win at the moment for the Bombers.
Umpire spins the ball back into play. Draper palms it down. McCarthy tracks it towards the boundary line, and we've got another stoppage right forward pocket for Brisbane.
So Essendon with 2 here in this third term. The Lions with a single goal. Umpire unwinds. Short throw-in. Draper had front spot. A couple of bodies collapse on the ball. Cockatoo, one of them. Laverty, the other. Tosses the ball back. And we'll have another ball up inside the forward 50. Neal to Archie. Handball to Rayner. High kick to full forward. Cameron. Charlie got rid of his man and takes the chest mark. 20 out, 45-degree angle left of centre. Jono and Berkey, how did we see that?
I see that as if a defender did that, it'll be a free kick to a forward. If a forward did that, they say, yeah, mate, you can have a shot.
Yeah, I think what I see is Charlie getting quite frustrated when players do that, and he does give those free kicks away, and I reckon it was probably there as well.
So Cameron to put the Lions back in front. He makes no mistake. 3 lead changes in the early part of the third term. And Brisbane back ahead by 4. 9-2-56, a very accurate Lions side to Essendon 7-10-52. 12 and a half minutes gone here on Grandstand AFL in the third term.
It was a good structured centre bounce, forward 50 clearance there, straight down to Neal. Neal then handballed it to the runner outside, and then they had Rayner just able to probably get it onto his left. But I was just thinking, I was looking at the goal square thinking, who would you want running through this stoppage? And it was Charlie Cameron I thought of, and I seen him down in the goal square and I thought, why is he down there? And he was able to, manoeuvre his player out and actually take that mark. So he looks very lively down there at the moment.
Thoughts of Chris Johnson on Grandstand AFL. Back in the middle. The umpires plucked a free kick out of the contest, going the way of Essendon for a hold, and Stringer, the recipient, has moved into the middle. Coming up for disposal, number 10 for Jake Stringer. His return to the lineup this afternoon. Oh, kicks it into Bailey, the man on the mark, and they've copped it up. Bailey gives it to McStay, gets it back from McStay from 40 metres out, has a ping, misses to the right. Lets Essendon off the hook. Brisbane 9-3-57, Essendon 7-10-52. Margin back to 5 points, 40 minutes played, third term.
He took his a lot of distance, and we praised him for it earlier, Berkey. He didn't quite there.
No.
Zach Bailey just didn't think his way through it quite as well. Ball locked up inside the centre square.
He needed to back his pace. He had a good 7 or 8 metres on Jake Stringer, and all it took was a bounce, run a little bit closer. Jake was never going to catch him.
Lions in their attacking half. 2 goals apiece here in this term. The throw in. Bailey. Handball inboard to Archie. Steps around a couple. Now Berry. Drives it to full forward. It's well and truly over the head of Danaher. McCarthy lurking out the back, collecting, snapping and missing to the near side.
The amount of ball that's gone over the back of Joe Danaher tonight has been unbelievable.
I was just about to say, Joe doesn't check his run-up. It's gone out of bounds here, but Joe doesn't, as he's running forward to the ball, he never puts in a short step or two because I realised earlier that it's going to go over my head. He just keeps running at the same pace to the ball, and that's why half of them go over his head.
So Berry with the fist to force a boundary throw in, left half forward for Brisbane. The umpire flicks it back in. McInerney in front position. McCluggage at ground level gives it off to Cameron. Left foot snap around the corner. Danaher has a couple to beat, coming back and taking the mark as Redmond. Read the ball nicely, floated across the pack and pulled it down.
Big man from Millicent, southeastern South Australia. Drives it outside the defensive 50. Over the top, great mark pulled in by Perkins. His star just continues to rise.
He had some big fellas in front of him. He had McInerney right and Harris in front of him.
Handball to Caldwell, who gave it back to Perkins. Drives it inside the 50 for the Bombers. Off hands, Sharp got the handball away. Cockatoo goes to ground. Smith collided with him. Cockatoo lays a good tackle among it all. And they'll be locked up.
They've had a good minute and a half, I reckon, and their back six have really stood up when there's been repeat inside forward 50s.
Centre-half forward for the Bombers. McInerney throws it on the boot away from the stoppage. Free kick coming to Jared Lyons here. Heppel adjudged to have come across the top.
Who was holding who?
Well, that was one of those ones, if you're behind, anything that touches the player's belly, if you're standing behind, any arm, they just call that a hold these days.
So Lyons chips laterally to Zorko. Kicks on the 45, finds Answorth in the centre square, hands it back to Lyons. Kicks it inside 50 for Brisbane. Through the hands of Redmond. Ridley collects. And Redmond gets it back, but he's pushed over the boundary line. And we've got a throw in 30 metres around for Brisbane's goal. So margin 6 points the way of Brisbane. 17 minutes played in the third. They've gone goal for goal in an entertaining third quarter. Shallow throw in, right front position, but it's roved by Neil, who evaded traffic nicely on the outside of the right boot. But it goes to the left-hand side for a minor score. Brisbane 9-5-59, Essendon 7-10-52, 17 and a half minutes played in the third.
Well, it's 2 shots at goal, direct from stoppages inside Brisbane Lions forward 50. The defenders and midfielders for the Bombers need to man up in that area of the ground.
Thumped out by Redmond. Through the hands of Andrews on the wing. Lyons there. He's dragged down by Guelphy. Handball turned over. Ham comes away with it to Parrish. No one inside 50 for the Bombers. So Parrish looks out wide and drops it into the bucket in front of Cutler, who marks 49 metres out. Goes to full forward. Stringer, the target, never gave him a chance, and Jake gave him a big old stare. Not happy with the service. Gardner intervenes for Brisbane. To Answorth, who comes up the corridor. Dangerous kick. Spills into the centre circles off hands. Right went to Shepherd when he should have got the ball. Bailey was there for Brisbane. Took it away. Handball to Neil. Handball to big McInerney, who gave it back to him.
50.
And Lockie Neal was held and will get 50.
That's that professional free kick, knowing that he's going to get the ball. So now it takes him from where the free kick is to 50 metres right in front of goal.
It is a big, big penalty. A massive price to pay, potentially, here for the Bombers.
Yeah, Lockie Neal was right onto it. As soon as the umpire blew his whistle, he pointed down the field. That's a 50 ump.
I don't think we've seen that for some time. I can't remember the last time I've seen this rule being played.
Just trying to stop the play getting the old 1-2.
So Neil goes from the middle of the ground with the aid of the 50 to the top of the square and makes Essendon pay full price. Brisbane's lead out to 13 points, back-to-back goals for the Lions. It's as big as the advantage has been for Brisbane in the game thus far. 19 minutes gone in the third term. The Lions 10-5 lead the Bombers 7-10.
I'm not sure why it needs to be 50. To me, it's a free kick.
Yeah.
Normally the Lions would have the ball, so as an umpire you say it's a free kick or we pay advantage.
Exactly.
Anyway, it is
probably outdated a little bit, isn't it? I think it was mainly for the blocks and those type of things. So I think maybe it's probably a little bit outdated. It probably needs to be revisited.
Just on Lockie Neal, 25 disposals in the goal. The last time they met, he had 37 and 2 goals and the 3 Brownlow votes. So he doesn't mind playing against the Bombers.
So back in the middle, Draper palms it down to Caldwell, fires out a hand pass to Merritt, who gives it to Parrish. Drives Essendon into attack, coming out in front. Francis has marked 40 metres out in front.
Yeah, just gave up, Adams. He thought Rich was going to come across and probably, not or come across and spoil that. But Francis just had eyes for the ball. I really like this kid. I prefer him up forward, Berkey. I don't like him down back. Up forward, he actually gives him another dimension towards goal.
He's playing his first game of 2022. Aaron Francis. It's nice off the boot, fading late for a minor score. Margin cut back to 12. Brisbane 10-5-65. Essendon 7-11-53. 21 minutes played in the third.
That 7-11 could come back to haunt them at some stage.
Great mark from Adams. Zorko took the kick in, comes to half back, and Adams stretches above Perkins and pulls it in. Good last week, been solid again today for the Lions. Thumps it up the broadcast side wing. Draper with a big fist. Clears the pack to Parrish. Handball to Cox. Wants a runner going past him. Merritt. Handball missed him. Merritt's quick enough to get back there. And handball's back to Cox, who flicks it out wide by hand to the run of Hind, who slipped over at the critical moment. Still got the handball away to Francis. Bombers inside the 50. Caldwell a chance. A fumble. Fought there for the Lions. He was holding down the fort inside the defensive 50. And now Adams can blast it outside the back arc. It's fisted out toward the boundary line and over for a throw-in. It was frenetic stuff inside forward 50 for Essendon. It was never really fully in control. But the Lions see off the scoring threat, at least for now.
One little error there was certainly Nick Cox. He needed to get that ball right in front of us here and just go forward. And then a chain of errors after that really sets a standard.
That was a case of Merritt calling for the ball. And wherever he calls it, we give it to him.
Exactly. Sometimes, you know, I think you've actually got to tell the person with the ball what to do with it rather than demand it all the time.
So umpire found a free kick to Fort, who kicks Brisbane towards half forward. Ridley can't pick it up. Stewart has a go. He had his arm pinged, and the umpire says that's holding the ball. Well executed tackle by Oscar McInerney, who's got the footy for Brisbane at right half forward. Dishes it off to Neil. Low bullet pass inside the 50. Cameron couldn't bring down the mark. Neil kept running and roved from 50 metres out against the boundary line. Sends it towards full forward. It's fisted across out of bounds for a boundary throw-in. 5 metres around from the point post. Brisbane into attack. 22 minutes played. Third term, they lead it by 12.
Really struggling with their forwards at the moment. Their medium types, Archie, Cockatoo, even Berry for that matter, are struggling to get their hands on the footy.
Ball tossed back in deep forward here for Brisbane. McInerney in ruck. Wants to go himself. Big O!
The O-man.
A U-turn from Big O. Snaps it around the body and puts Brisbane 18 to the good. 11-5-71 to Essendon 7-11-53. Brisbane's made a break for it here in this third term. And now it's all with the Bombers to see what they can do from here.
He's got a bit of a cut over the left eye too, Big O. So he had blood streaming down his face, plucked it in with the left. Thought about handballing, but thought, no, I'll do it all myself. So a wonderful finish and a really important goal. So you go from 12 to 18 points ahead. If the Bombers got the last one, it would have been down to 6 and game on.
He doesn't kick many. He kicked 6 last year, 1 last week. He kicks them at important times, though. He really bobs up when they need him, Jono.
He does. He takes a good mark as well, and he misses a few as well in front of goal. But I think the biggest part for Big O this year is Darcy Fort. Him coming into the lineup is giving him an opportunity to play down forward a little bit more, and I reckon we're going to see it a fair bit more.
So this time a free kick to Essendon in the middle, goes to Draper. Just thumps it into inside forward 50. Francis had a couple of beats, spills off hands. Caldwell dishes it off to Stringer. Left foot snap. What a goal, Jake Stringer. Welcome back to the Bombers. Cuts the margin to 6 points. Brisbane 11-5-71. Essendon 9-11-65. 8-11-59 rather. We've played 25 in the third term.
But centre clearances, I think the Bombers have had the better of the centre clearances, haven't they? They've streamed it straight down the middle and put Lions defenders under a lot of pressure. But Jake Stringer running onto that one. I don't think he kicked the ball exactly like he wanted to. It flew like a bit of a wounded duck. But
it nearly hit that sexy screen.
But as soon as it went off his foot, he had the finger in the air, signalling to the crowd that, hey, look at me, I've just snagged one and I've kept my team really alive in this game.
Still within touching distance here, the Bombers. That is for sure. From the middle. McCluggage handball on the up. Stringer's in there to try and steal it away for the Bombers. Parrish goes low on Zorko, not low enough.
Ducked his head, not a free kick.
Free kick to the Lions. He finds Bailey. Bailey's going to pop it on over the top for the running machine, Harry Sharp, who couldn't collect cleanly the first time, had a second go. Whacks it inside the 50. Big fist from McCarthy. Front of the pack. Who's there? Crummer's needed. Cameron. Handball to Berry. Handball to Bailey. Bailey kicks to full forward. How will it bounce? It'll bounce all the way home.
Has he just let that go through?
I think he did.
Stewart with a monumental brain fade running all the way back. Thought it was bouncing to the right.
I don't know what he was doing there.
Umpire's call is touched. We've gone up for a score review, and the umpire's call is touched.
Ooh,
he went very, very gingerly.
There's daylight there, Berkey.
He might have got, with the left hand there, the very end of a fingernail to it, but only that.
Jeez, we need a hot spot on the end of his middle finger.
Well, if it's umpire's call, and that's not conclusive...
It'll come back to umpire's call.
So the umpire's call was that it was touched, but a little bit of urgency maybe from James Stewart would have been required.
Looking at this angle, we can see there is a gap.
There's a gap. It's a goal. There's a gap, and it's a goal. And James Stewart's worst nightmares have been realised.
He's a bit incredulous, old James.
He walks over to a teammate, arms outstretched, saying, I'm not really sure what happened. Most of the Essendon supporters in at Docklands feel the same way. And Bailey's bounced home his second, and the Lions' 18-point lead is re-established. 27.5 minutes gone, third term on Grandstand AFL.
Well, they've had a couple of things go their way. They've had the free kick at centre-half back here go their way, where Zorko ducked his head, and now that one there that has resulted in a goal.
Yeah, well, James Stewart, just punch it through. Punch it through. There's no need to just do what you did. The guy who's adjudicating that one must have a magnifying glass, because we couldn't quite tell whether there was a gap between ball and finger, but he obviously saw a gap. Big call.
Classic coach killer there from Stewart. And the Lions back out to an 18-point lead, and they've won the footy out of the middle. McCluggage pumps them back into attack over the head of Danaher. McStay tried to tap it forward. All Bombers, Laverty to Kelly. And now to Hind from the right back pocket. Exits defensive 50. Looking for Stringer. Neal, did he push him? No, says the umpire. So Neal with the footy. Forward of the wing. Kicks into the pocket. Coming out, Danaher. To the boos of the Essendon faithful. Danaher's marked on the lead, 35 out, 45-degree angle to the left.
Well, they'll certainly boo if he puts this one through.
So crucial time in the third quarter for Essendon. This kick from Danaher could move Brisbane to a 24-point lead on the eve of three-quarter time. He's got it as he fist pumps to the crowd, and Brisbane establish a 4-goal lead. 13-5-83. Essendon 8-11-59. 30 minutes played, third term. Your experts on Grandstand AFL, Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke.
Well, it's just, I think we've spoken about it a few times now, Bergie, is when he's presenting it up at the football. You made real good mention of it, that he doesn't take short steps, and there you can see just how good he is if he keeps that ball in front of him and just not tries to, get it at full speed all the time. He can give a contest, and they can't go with him there. So at times he's got to be able to sort of slow up and read the ball when it's coming off the boot. There is probably an exception where he needs to be at when the ball's coming inside forward 50, and a beautiful kick for goal. We do know that he can be wayward, but that one there he just steadied straight through.
So Joe's got a couple, and as Jess said, the Lions out by 4 goals. Game high lead. Caldwell out of the middle for Essendon, trying to spark something going forward. Hams tackled by a couple of Lions and locked up inside the centre square. Essendon in their attacking half. Another 6 goals here in this third quarter for Brisbane after a 6-goal second term. From the clearance, it's bounced forward for the Lions, but Hines there at half-back for the Bombers. It's a slightly dangerous kick inside the defensive 50, but Redmond tracked it down. He shot it wide to Guelphy on the wing. The West Australian spins the footy in his hands, looks up for an option, doesn't see a lot that he likes, gestures for someone to come towards him, kicks toward Peter Wright, who started so well early. Andrews reaches across there and slaps it out of play at the junction of the 50 and the boundary at right half forward. It'll be tossed back in. 31 minutes gone here in this third term through, well, controversy as part of their run. Brisbane's kicked 5 of the last 6 and they lead by 24.
A chance for the Bombers to get one late from their throw-in. Ham gives it to Merritt. Under pressure with the kick. Wright has some separation. Fisted away by Andrews, who closed late. Ball still alive inside 50 for the Bombers. Cutler gives it to Parrish. Handballs backwards to Hind. Free kick. Umpire doesn't call advantage. It's coming back to Parrish, who'll take a shot for goal. 45 out, slight angle to the left.
Not sure about that one. What I love Chris Fagan has done, he's put Jared Berry onto Zach Merritt for the majority of this quarter. Merritt's only had the 6 possessions, which might sound okay, but it's not really when you've had 21 in the first half. But Berry's not really playing a tag, he's just having a run with, and he's making sure he doesn't get any easy possessions. And I love a midfielder being defensive.
So the Bombers need this one. Parrish can't deliver, misses to the left for a minor score. Brisbane 13-5-83, Essendon 8-12-60, 32 minutes played now in the third.
Good pick up there, Berkey, because Berry's not in the game at the moment. He's only had the 8 touches, and he's one of their probably predominant midfielders, so they need to get him in the game somehow or utilise him in the team somewhere.
Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke, your experts on Grandstand AFL. Jess Webster and Joel Peterson calling the action for you. Lauren Borden on the boundary. Rich kicks into Andrews, who drives it outside the defensive 50 for the Bombers. But through Caldwell, Parrish and Durham, they get it back. And now to Ham from right on the 50. Let's go on the left boot. Strikes the right-hand goalpost. Flush. It bounces 20 metres back into play. Braden Ham thought he was on for an absolute ripper there. It was oh so close. Margin 22 points the way of Brisbane nearing three-quarter time.
When you're playing a really good side like Brisbane, you've got to take your chances. And 8-13 is certainly not taking your chances.
So Rich goes for a run and chips short to Ainsworth. Still inside the defensive 50. Chips short again to Neil.
Number 30 for Neil.
And we've seen Brisbane do this in the last quarter, so just under a minute to go, and now they're just going to soak this clock up as much as they can and just take the sting out of the game because they've had the last couple of shots, Essendon.
So Neil kicks out wide to Gardner, who's marked at left half back against the boundary line. Kicks long to a contest on the wing. McStay in front, pushed underneath it. Then collects his footy, but coughs it up. Stewart just barrels run towards forward 50, intercepted by Adams.
Right next to the numbers of the 50, Marcus Adams. Whacks it up the line. Danaher presents to the front of the pack through the hands of McStay. Wrigley behind it all for the Bombers. Takes it cleanly off the pack. Handball to McGrath. Handball to Merritt, to Parrish. Time running out for Essendon. And it thwarts a forward thrust. Right on three-quarter time. Brisbane with 12 goals since quarter time to really take control here at Docklands. Another 6-goal term to the Lions. And they lead Essendon 13-5-83 to 8-13-61 as we turn for home in the twilight on Grandstand AFL. Goal kickers to three-quarter time. Cameron, Bailey, Danaher and McCluggage each with 2 for Brisbane. Neil, McCarthy, Cockatoo, Rayner and McInerney all with singles. For Essendon, Peter Wright has kicked 3, all in the first half. Archie Perkins with a couple. Devon Smith with 1. Zach Merritt with 1. And Jake Stringer with another. We'll get a preview of the Hawthorn and Port Adelaide game coming up next for most of our network with Aaron Bryans very shortly. And, of course, the last term here, Essendon led by 22 at quarter time. It was Brisbane by 5 at the half. And now at three-quarter time, it's Brisbane by 22 points. 13-5 to 8-13. The final term coming up after this on ABC Radio, ABC News Radio and ABC Sport Digital. This is Grandstand AFL.
Hello, Costa here. Gardening is great for the whole family. and I want to tell you something that will get the kids in your life growing. It's my brand new podcast, Gardening Buds. Everything a kid needs to know to make their own garden grow. Whether you've got a big backyard, a balcony, or a little pot on a windowsill. Join Kaylee and I for Gardening Buds. Out now on the ABC Kids Listen and ABC Listen apps.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Kicks a long one, looking for right in a one-on-one against Andrews. It spills to Cox, who's right up against the boundary line. Throws it on the boot, looking for Perkins, who marks 20 metres out directly in front. So this for the perfect start to the second half for Essendon to restore their lead, and Perkins makes no mistake. McCarthy from the boundary line, squaring kick into the corridors of beauty and finds McCluggage 20 metres out directly in front. Kicked a goal in the opening term, McCluggage to hand the lead back to Brisbane. He's got it. Brisbane back in front by 4 points.
Draper off to Merritt. Zach Merritt bursts through the 50. Classy by foot. That is no exception. So Neil goes from the middle of the ground with the aid of the 50 to the top of the square and makes Essendon pay full price. Ball tossed back in deep forward here for Brisbane. McInerney in ruck. Wants to go himself. Big O!
The O-man.
A U-turn from Big O. Snaps it around the body.
Francis had a couple of beats. Spills off hands. Caldwell dishes it off to Stringer. Left foot snap. What a goal, Jake Stringer. Welcome back to the Bombers. This kick from Danaher could move Brisbane to a 24-point lead on the eve of three-quarter time. He's got it as he fist pumps to the crowd.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
He's been the lead protagonist tonight in many ways, Joe Danaher. A couple of goals for the former Bomber against his old side. And it is his new side, Brisbane, that lead by 22 points at three-quarter time. 13-5-83 to 8-13-61. Earlier today at the MCG, Collingwood winners by 42 points over Adelaide. More footy coming your way tonight. The True Believers will be out in force at the Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide return home to face Hawthorn. That's where we find Aaron Bryans. G'day, Aaron.
G'day, Joel. They certainly will be out in force tonight, Joel, because it's a special occasion this evening. Port Adelaide honouring club great Russell Ebert, who sadly passed away in November after a battle with leukemia at the age of 72. So fans will be out in force to honour him that way. And Ken Hinkley will be hoping the occasion as well will be able to lift his side to their first win of the season. They pulled up short against the Lions last week. They're battered and bruised. And unfortunately, as a result, it means they will be without Aaliyah and Robbie Gray tonight. But that does open the doors for debutants Sam Skinner and Josh Sin, who are currently receiving their Guernsey presentation at the Riverbank Stand end. Meanwhile, for the visitors, Sam Mitchell's Hawks, they welcome back Ben McAvoy and Luke Bruce from COVID protocols and are looking to go 2-0 for the first time since 2018. There's plenty to look forward to next, Joel. Scott Camporelli, Stephen Williams will be joining me and will be providing scores from the D's and the Suns clash as well across the evening. It's Port Adelaide and Hawthorn next on Grandstand AFL.
Thanks, Aaron. In good hands with our crew in Adelaide. For most of our audience this evening, for those on Queensland News Radio, you'll be headed to the Gold Coast and Melbourne, which is a contest of intrigue all of its own. Quentin Hull, Michael Price, Jeff White and Jess Stewart, your broadcast team at Carrara tonight. So if you want to catch either of those games, they're not on local radio in your part of the world. You can grab them via the Listen Live section of the AFL app. Three-quarter time, Bombers trail by 22 points. Chris Johnson, Nathan Burke, your experts on Grandstand AFL. Another six-goal quarter to Brisbane. Burkey, pretty commanding 22-point lead. Can the Bombers get back into it?
They can. They have the ability to score quickly. They've had multiple shots at periods during the game. They just haven't scored multiple goals. We know that if they can trap that ball in their front half, get their defenders really high up the ground, they can get multiple entries, but they must make the most of every opportunity. At the moment, they're not doing that.
Yeah, well, it's 21 shots from 44 inside forward 50s for the Bombers and only 17 inside forward 50s from or shots on from 39 inside forward 50s for the Lions. And the other thing with the Lions at the moment, where the Bombers need to lift, is their disposal efficiency at the moment. They're running at 71% to the Lions, 80%.
80%'s pretty lethal, isn't it? That's extraordinary from Brisbane. First bounce goes skew, so a secondary ball up out of the middle, and the Bombers work it backward to go forward. Parrish got it to Hind, whose bounce eluded him. Neil came up with it, who was huge in the third quarter, and finds Danaher, who marked just inside the 50. Umpire hasn't done him any favours by marking it just outside the arc. You think Joe would fancy his chances from downtown here, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think he's put the ball down, he's wiping the hands, he's taking his time.
Already kicked two as Joe. So much baked into this.
You'd fancy him here more than 20 metres out.
When he sinks the slipper into them, they generally go pretty straight. Danaher goes long. And I think the reaction from the crowd will tell you all you need to know about that. The Bronx cheer indicates it goes out of bounds on the full. He didn't get all of that at all. It was a wild old shank and a free kick to the Bombers for the last line.
So Hind kicks it long, looking for a right, fist away by Andrews, roved by Parrish, who kicks it down the line. Caldwell in a one-on-one against Gardner. Caldwell collected the footy and then was pushed in the back. So he's got the free kick just forward of the wing on the City side of the ground. Dishes it off to Parrish, who kept running from right half forward. Kick into the pocket. Stringer's got it. Marks just inside the boundary line, 20 metres out.
Well done by the Bombers there. McGrath was down there as well. He noticed that mismatch between Stringer and McCluggage, and he just kept Lyons away from him so Lyons couldn't block him off. So very smart play there. And you know, I think you've got to utilise that. If Stringer's playing on someone of that type in McCluggage, you've got to push hard forward.
Will he go the banana or the left foot snap? Neither.
To give his side a lift, Stringer, he's kicked it across the face of goal. Andrews with the fist sends it over the line. We've got a throw in left forward pocket for Essendon.
We gave him two options. He took the third and it was no good, Berkey.
And it was almost out on full. Why would you do a drop punt from the boundary line? Dumb.
Not his best moment, maybe, Jake. He's got a big bag of tricks and didn't go anywhere near utilising any of them. Zorko from the defensive stoppage for the Lions clears the arc, but Callie's in the way. Former Crow crossed to the Bombers on a 3-year deal as an unrestricted free agent. Handball to Parrish, the All-Australian last year. Sends it to full forward. Right with two hands, couldn't pull it in. Durham fights for it in the forward pocket. Guelphy to right, who goes to ground. Handball on the up to Smith. Chased down by McCluggage. Just got the handball away. Only as far as Berry for Brisbane. High up and down the mine shaft outside the back 50. A frustrated Stewart. Handballs up to Kelly, who again goes inside for the Bombers. And a strong defensive mark taken by the man who just bobs up when they need it. Oscar McInerney this time inside the defensive 50.
Handballs to Zorko, who exit the defensive zone, looking for McStay, who judged that beautifully against Kelly. Is marked near the point of the centre square, drives it towards half forward. Bailey had the jumper tugged. No, it's going the other way. He, in fact, had a fistful of Laverty's jumper.
Good decision there by the umpire. Bailey was stretching the arm out, just grabbed the defender's jumper around the scruff of the neck, so well spotted.
So Laverty kicks short to Heppel at left half back. And then just drives it long down the wing, right! Beautiful mark. Rose over Starcevic.
Yes, Pete, I thought he went home at quarter time. He's back.
And then kicks the Bombers into attack. Draper couldn't bring it down. Does the work at ground level. Kick partially smothered. Ends up with Zorko. His kick smothered. Neil's coughed it up to McGrath, who's driven into the turf by Rich, and we've got a stoppage, 55 out from the Bombers' goal.
I've got a sense the Bombers have lifted here. They know that this game's winnable if they can get it all right and get it all clicking together.
They probably need the first of the last term. They trail by 22 points. Parrish defensively from the stoppage to Ridley inside the arc to right. Peters got it 48 metres out, 45-degree angle right half forward.
if I'm Chris Fago, I'm sending a message out to my midfielders to say Darcy Parish is running rings around you so far this last quarter. He's had about half a dozen possessions, multiple clearances. So if they want to stay in front, well, don't let Parish get them back into the game.
So Essendon with just 4 goals since quarter time to Brisbane's 12. Peter Wright kicked 2 in the first, 1 in the second. He loads up from long distance and leaves it to the near side. Margin 21 points. Essendon 62, Brisbane 83. 5.5 minutes played, final term on Grandstand AFL. Earlier today, Collingwood by 42 points over Adelaide. The 2 games to come tonight, Port and the Hawks for most of our audience. And on Queensland News Radio, the Gold Coast and Melbourne.
So Rich kicks long. Oh, great mark by Rayner. Marks in front of Heppel, close to the boundary line at right half back.
Lions can't just play for territory and just go, let's just get it down our end. They're just bombing the ball at the moment.
Rayner does exactly that, and it's come up the Bombers' way. Redmond gives it to Caldwell. Handballs to Laverty, who dishes it off to Cutler. His handball intercepted by Rayner. We've got a boundary throw-in on the interchange gates on the dock side of the ground.
Couldn't agree more, Berkey. I think at the moment the Lions are just pretty content where they are at the moment. I reckon they need to get some running carry into their game. They're just going down the line, over the mark, playing straight into Essendon's hands.
Ball tossed back in between the interchange gates. McInerney front spot, wins it straight down. He'll do it all again on the wing.
One of the reasons why Lions got a high kick effectiveness is the Bombers have only had 20 tackles for the game. At three-quarter time, I think they had 20. The lost art of tackling in this game. 12 players had none, 18 players had 1 at three-quarter time.
I think they had 40 last week or something for the whole game, Essendon.
Like 20 at three-quarter time. Surely you can accidentally run into someone and put your arms around them. That counts as a tackle. If you had no tackles in this game, you should be ashamed of yourself.
The stoppage on the wing, Berry down the line, through the hands of McStay. Ridley did enough to worry him out of it. At left half back, Merritt to Heppel, back to Merritt. She's calm with the ball in hand, just guides his pass to Draper, who's got it in line with the back edge of the centre square. Essendon need to keep moving the ball. They trail by 21, 7.5 minutes gone here in the final term.
Draper kicks long, looking for Wright. Ball spills out the back. Ainsworth trying to run onto it. Got an ugly bounce in the end. Ham now comes in. He's wrapped up by a couple of Lions. We've got a stoppage inside forward 50 for the Bombers. So Brisbane lead it by 21 points. 8 minutes travelled in the final term. Essendon need to get a wriggle on. It's from the ball up, Lions. Kick around the corner to a pack on the wing. It's off hands. Bailey collects. Just dribbles a kick along the ground. It goes past Danaher. Spills to Cockatoo, who gives it to Danaher. He's run out of room. Tries to handball to advantage, but boundary line beats everyone. The Essendon faithful wanted deliberate. And instead, we've got a throw in between wing and half forward for Brisbane on the dock side of the ground.
Well, that's the definition of not doing enough to keep the ball in. He handballed the ball straight on the boundary line.
Joe turned to the umpire and said, no, I was going to run onto it, yeah.
Yeah, the Essendon players complained and the umpire said, no, he handballed it. Well, that doesn't make any difference.
From the throw-in, the Lions control it once more. Or nervous moments for Lions. Lost the ball, lost his mouth guard. He regained the mouth guard, not the ball, though. Turnover, though. Parish kicked inside the centre square, and it's cut off by Starcevic. Starcevic sends Brisbane inside the 50. A wobbly old thing through the hands of Redmond. Tackled by Danaher, holding the ball.
No, holding the man, Joel.
Oh. Free kick going the way of Essendon.
Bit stiff there, I thought.
Yeah, holding the man, and it probably would have been a dangerous tackle in the end as well, because there was a fair sling around onto his back.
So Redmond, who had a very nervous moment inside the defensive 50, will try and be a bit calmer here. 21-point lead to Brisbane.
So kicks to a contest on the wing. Cox couldn't go with it. Starcevic does well. Handballs into the path of Bailey. He has to trap it. Cox runs him down. That's holding the ball.
And 50.
Not that much different to the previous one with Danaher. The player tried to run through the tackle, coughed up the ball. That one, they're red hot.
So Cox is going to be marched. To within 80 metres of goal is 2 kicks from home. Short pass to left half forward, finds Heppel in space, has Ham running for him and kicks to him. Marks right where the 50-metre line intersects with a boundary at left half forward.
I think the Lions are happy. If the Bombers are having shots from out here, they're going to be happy.
Well, the Bombers need a goal. Ham sends it to the hot spot. It's off hands. And free kick going the way of Brisbane. McInerney, the recipient for a push-out in the contest.
Yeah, against Francis. Just got McInerney off the ball, just got him off balance a little bit.
Let's go downstairs. On the boundary on grandstand is Lauren Borden.
Well, how's this for a debut game for Tex Wanganeen? He's just been sitting at the back of the bench eating snakes. Might not get on the ground during his debut game, but he will get the credit as a senior match for him.
Apart from not getting on the ground, that sounds like a perfect debut to me. Just sitting up the back of the bench eating the snakes.
Yeah. So that comes as an official game.
That's ridiculous.
Which is an outrageous rule.
It's a tough way to debut.
You have to get on the ground at some stage for it to be a game.
Yeah, it's absolutely bizarre. It throws every stat out. You know, you think about your career stats, averages, and all that kind of thing.
Well,
it's very strange.
You're talking to a guy that's sitting on 299 games. I would love to be a sub. Just sub me once in.
But Tex Wanganeen, prior to the game, they had a beautiful jumper presentation out on the oval, friends, family, staff, the entire playing group, and then you don't even get on. I'm not a fan of it, to be honest.
It's a very, very strange interpretation of the rules as McGrath takes it away from the stoppage, sends Essendon inside the forward 50. Rich is there, just bashes it along the ground and then clears it outside the defensive 50 with an open fist. Lions might be off to the races here. Heppel tries his best to intervene, but McCluggage is there. A handball to Bailey, a handball to Neal. The champ sends it to full forward. Not going to be enough. Kelly on the last line gets back for the Bombers to intercept.
Am I right in saying that have the Lions scored this quarter? I don't think they have. I can't remember them scoring this quarter, and they haven't even looked like scoring this quarter.
One behind, and it went to Essendon.
So Laverty from the back pocket just kicks it out of the danger zone. Wright has 2 to beat. He brings it to ground. Cordwell, handball intercepted, or ricocheted rather. Cox throws it on the boot, sends it down the line. Adams in a one-on-one with Perkins, wins the footy, gives it to Starcevic, kick around the corner over the head of McInerney. McStay collects, handballs in forward to Fort. Oh, it's a wobbly kick inside 50. Danaher traps it, gives it back to Fort from 49 metres to the goal line. Cameron keeps it alive. McCarthy kick around the corner. Guelphy in best position for the Bombers, gives it to Cutler and exits to Francis, who drops the mark at right half back, has time to gather, handballs inboard to Ridley. Now the chip kick out to the wing. Cutler's marked and he's off.
So Cutler galloping down the city side, sends it short to Durham. Played his junior footy in Lions colours at Seymour in the Goulburn Valley League. Inboard to Francis on the AFL logo. Umpire blows his whistle. Blood rule. So Aaron Francis is going to have to come from the ground.
I think that last time he tried to mark it, hit him fair and square in the head. Interesting the way these two teams are playing the stand rule. We've seen so far this year the Western Bulldogs running back outside 5 every single time, and we've seen some other teams do that as well. These teams haven't done that once. They've been content to actually stand the mark. Personally, I think running backwards outside 5 is just a waste of time. You might as well just stand the mark, give the player an extra 5 metres to actually dispose of the ball, and you'll never ever smother the ball. But just interesting the way different teams are approaching that rule.
21-point lead to Brisbane midway through this final term. Long entry for the Bombers, but it's only a shallow one. Ham tackled by a couple of Lions. Archie goes to ground. He's rolled in the tackle. Guelphy tries to keep it in. Eventually it's out near the intersection of the boundary and the 50. It'll be tossed back in. The Bombers with the only behind of the quarter. A little bit on off the football there. Guelphy involved, swinging his opponent around. 21-point lead to Brisbane. 13-5 plays 8-14.
So 10 minutes to play in this final term. Only the behind to the Bombers in this final term. No goals from either side. Neal gives it to Sharp, who just hacks it out of the danger zone to a pack on the wing. Off hands, Cockatoo collects for the Lions. Gives it to McCluggage. Left foot kick around the corner. Bailey, a nice fist into the path of Cameron, who taps it to his advantage. He's got a couple of metres separation on Redmond. Kicks it into the pocket. They both go to ground, but Cameron pops up, throws it on the boot and misses to the left.
Yeah, players inside there, Jess.
Tried to do it all himself, Cameron. That would have been the match-winning goal in the end. It keeps the Bombers alive. 22 points the margin. Brisbane 13-6, 84. Essendon 8-4, 62. 15 gone, final term.
It's just selfish, isn't it, Berkey?
Yep.
He had two blokes inside that he could have just come and just chipped it in and put the Essendon defence under a little bit more pressure.
Caldwell nearly broke away off the pack from the kick in, but handballed it straight into traffic. Draper found her on his hands and knees. Archie was rolled in a tackle. Spilt to Answorth for the Lions. Handball to Neil. Neil inside the 50. Charlie's on the end of this one. 47 metres out. About a 30-degree angle to the left of centre.
Lockie Neal up to 36 possessions now. He's been tireless. Start to finish. Just never stops.
Back to some of his best last week. Lockie Neal, 31 disposals and 7 clearances after an injury-riddled year last season. Coming off for a well-earned rest at the moment. Charlie Cameron taking every second he's got here. Spinning the ball in his hands outside the 50. Any trots from 51 metres out. Cameron lets it go. Never looks like it. Out of bounds on the full. Couple of chances to ice it for Charlie. Hasn't made either of them count. The margin's still at 22. 16 gone in the final term.
Bombers need to take some risks here. They need to get the ball through the corridor, get the ball running. Chipping the ball around the boundary lines is not going to do it.
So Laverty to Ridley to Hine, kicks down the line, just pitches inside the boundary line. Guelphy did well to keep it alive, slapped it to Cox, rushes a kick down the line, goes over the head of Stringer. Now the Lions come up with it. Zorko gives it to Gardner, who's escorted over the line by Stringer. The umpire says throw it in. So ball in forward of the wing, Bombers into attack. They trail by 22 points, 17 minutes played in this final term. The umpire flicks it back in. Sharp goes hard into the contest, collected high by McGrath, and has the free kick for the Lions at right half-back.
I don't like that one because he lowered himself down as soon as he saw the tackle coming. It's impossible not to get them high. Stay on your feet, stand up strong, take the tackle. If you go low and you get hit in the head, well, bad luck.
Australian Football Hall of Famer Nathan Burke with you on Grandstand AFL. Alongside Brisbane Lions champion Chris Johnson. Long kick down the line from Berry straight to Stewart, who marks just inside the boundary. Could have let it go out of bounds on the full, but elected to take it into his chest.
It's just wasteful from Berry. He had a couple of options on the go short, but waved them off and then went long down the line to turn that ball over quite easily.
Stewart kicks to a 2-on-1 favouring Brisbane, and Peter Wright was outpointed by Andrews and then has a couple of words to say to Gardner and Zorko as he jogs back inside the forward 50 for the Bombers. They led by 22 points at quarter time, Essendon. Brisbane kicked 6 goals in the second term, another 6 in the third to take control of the game and have a 22-point lead of their own going into the last change. Both sides have added a behind a piece through 18 minutes here in the final term, and the margin stays at 22.
It's been an ugly quarter, let's be honest.
It's probably replicated the first. The first wasn't a great quarter, apart from Essendon kicking a couple of goals. Peter Wright showing some brilliance and some good contested marks and going back and kicking it, but this is a bit boring. As I said, boring mode.
The Lions share it around half-back. They kick it to the centre of the ground. Off hands, Gardner loops a handball to Berry, who gives it to Zorko. Run down and they turn it over. Parrish handballs to Perkins. Kicks out wide to Francis, who's marked at the point edge of the square. Has Cutler running for him and half forward. He crosses 50, eyes the goals and delivers the goal the Bombers needed. They stay alive in this final term. The margin's cut to 16. Brisbane 13-6, 84. Essendon 9-4, 68. 19 minutes played in the final term. Your experts, Grandstand AFL, Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson.
Well, Johnny, can they do it?
I think they can. I think Brisbane have gone into their shells and all they want to do, we mentioned it probably in the first minute or so, they just want to go down the line, they just want to kick over the mark. I think Essendon have got the run in their legs. They've got their inside forward 50s are well up at the moment, so they've got 54 inside 50, so they can get it in there. It's just whether they can generate more than Brisbane in this last. What have we got left? We've got just
6.5 minutes to go.
If they can.
3 goals, 6.5 minutes.
It's enough time.
It's easy to do.
You know they can score in bunches, the Bombers, when they get going. Just how quickly can they get going? From the restart, Draper to Merritt, left it behind as he came screaming out of the centre of the ground. Berry bangs Brisbane the other way. Danaher in the wrestle with Laverty. Neither can take it. Laverty in the end came up with it. A handball to Hind, who kicks to release Perkins on the outer wing. Clever little knock around the corner. Had a teammate running shotgun in Cox. Perkins kicks to right half forward. Francis is out on the lead. He darts it inboard to Merritt. Merritt's got Parrish at the top of the 50 if he can find him, and to take a hell of a kick. That's where he goes. That's what he delivers. Parrish marks. 45 out. 40-degree angle.
Well, good ball movement there by the Lions. It was fast, proactive ball movement. Hind coming off the half-back line. A really good kick out to 2-on-1. They worked that well. Francis, a good lead. Didn't hang on to the ball. Got the ball, changed lanes in the middle of the ground. So really proactive stuff. Where's this been?
So to peg another one back for Essendon. Parrish on the approach. Can't sneak it in. Just away to the right-hand side. Margin 15 points. Brisbane 84, Essendon 69. 21 minutes played. Final term on Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, bad miss, that one. Bad miss. Would have had all the momentum. Last 2 goals. Going back to that centre bounce again.
So 1 goal, 2 to 1 behind. Essendon have kicked in this final term as Rich sends the ball out wide to Zorko. Heavily by Guelphy. Zorko goes back to Rich in the last line of defence. This time switches play to the outer side. Lovely delivery to find Cockatoo at left half back, just inside the boundary line.
I don't know how Hind, a player of his pace, could be trailing 10 metres behind an opponent on a long kick like that. You just must have gone to sleep at some stage.
So Cockatoo kicks long down the line. Kelly used the ball well against Cameron. Handballs to Draper, under pressure with the kick. Down the line it goes, right against Andrews. Fisted over the line for a boundary throw-in. True centre wing position, outer side. It's Brisbane by 15 points, 22 played in the final term.
30,631 the attendance here at Docklands this evening. I reckon Joe Danaher has been booed at some point by 30,629 of them. Lions with a clearing kick out of the stoppage. Cameron worked under it by Kelly. McCluggage picks it up. Kicks to half forward out in front of McInerney and Ridley. Neither can trap it inside the field of play. It'll be thrown in right on the 50. Game's just slowed into a bit of a lull here in this final term. Just the 1 goal in it going the way of Essendon. Parrish had a shot a couple of moments ago, a set shot that would have pulled them closer. Couldn't convert. It's a 15-point game with 4 minutes remaining. Ball on half forward here for Brisbane. Draper just punches it out of the contest. Sharp there for the Lions. Goes inside the forward 50, bouncing ball out toward the boundary line. How does the umpire view this? As a throw-in. Again at the junction of the 50 and the boundary at left half forward for Brisbane.
Jake Stringer sitting on the bench there, trying to get back on. They need a bit of magic. Late in the game, not long to go, they need someone to be able to pull a goal out of nowhere, and him sitting on the bench is not going to do it for them.
Draper palms it down. Berry collects. Tackled by Merritt, forces a stoppage 45 metres out from Brisbane's goal.
Well, this looks like Brisbane have stopped running. They've stopped running through the through the stoppages. The last couple of stoppages are all stagnant. They're in their forward line. They need to get somebody on the move.
So blood rule, it's going to McInerney, who was sent off earlier with the blood rule. So he's got to come to the bench. McStay comes back on.
Bombers players down there, including Jake Stringerberg. He's screaming for someone to get the rotation happening.
Well, there's a small break in play.
They've got to you've got to look at the team and go, right, who's going to kick a goal for them? Is Guelphy going to kick a goal, or is Jake Stringer? Yep, get Guelphy off. Is Devon Smith going to kick a goal? Yeah, he is. So get him on the ground. You need your goal winners, your plays with a bit of X factor on the ground at the moment.
So from the ball up, Merritt comes through, but it's picked up by Zorko, who handballs into the path of Berry. He's worried out of it by Redmond. Diving in there is Sharp. Now Berry has a go, and he's going nowhere. Ridley and Redmond tackle him, but he's caught high. So Jared Berry has the footy, left half forward against the boundary line for Brisbane. Can send them inside the arc. Chips it forward, Danaher. Through his fingers. And Lions at ground level can't keep it in, and we've got to throw in 10 metres around from Brisbane's goal left forward pocket.
Nick Cox is a pretty sore boy behind the footy as well. A right ankle that he came down on in that marking contest. Can't put any weight on it as he hobbles toward the boundary line with the assistance of the trainers. Play stopped for a moment.
Could be the moment Wanganeen gets his debut with 3 minutes on the clock.
3 minutes remaining. Out you go, Tex.
Could very well.
Make a hero of yourself.
Yeah. A big ankle. Just watch the replay there. Right ankle just twisted straight over there. So glad it's an ankle, not a knee.
Number 8 pick last year, Cox out of Montmorency in the Northern Knights. Meanwhile, the ball spun back into play inside forward 50 for the Lions. Neal takes it off the stoppage to put a dagger in the Bombers fans' hearts. He got the 3 votes last time they met, Lachie Neale. And he's well on his way to doing it once more. 38 and 2 goals. And Brisbane lead by 21 and have surely sewn this up. 14-6-90. Essendon 9-15-69. 26 and a half minutes gone in the final term on Grandstand AFL.
Well, mate, I know you're doing the votes.
It's easy to give the free votes today.
Not much to think about.
It's look, he's just a class above everybody else in the Lachie Neale. You spoke about it earlier, Berkey. Just his ability, he's a workhorse. His ability to will himself on the contest, to work himself into the contest as well. It's just, you know, it's what all players or all any kid that wants to be a midfielder and wants to be, you know, about how to work it so hard that's the one that they need to watch. He is the guy that just wills himself and wills himself.
So a 6-6-6 warning against Brisbane as Zach Bailey runs from the forward line to the back line. From the middle, Lions emerges with it. Kicks it inside forward 50. Coming out McCarthy. Can't trap it. Cockatoo has a go. Collects it. Handballs backwards to Lachie Neale for disposal number 39. Around the corner. Danaher has a fly and is pulled in a ripper.
He had no right to catch that one. He completely misjudged it and extended his arms out about 2 metres to his side and plucked it in.
Could have almost been a free kick. I was just watching Danaher at the time and he looked like he got pulled at one stage towards one way. So
Joe Danaher playing against his old side in Melbourne for the first time.
This will hurt the Bombers supporters.
Docklands is packed with Bombers supporter and Joe Danaher absolutely sprays it off the side of the boot across the face of goal and goes over the boundary line 30 metres away from the goal.
You know what the best part is? The Bombers fans know that it's all part of the experience.
Yep. There he is. There he is. He's back.
What are you noticing at ground level, John?
Zarek Merritt, from that contest, he leaned very hard on his ankle, so he's come straight off the ground in the hands of the physio and the doctors down there, so not good sign.
Not what you need. Another stoppage inside the 50 and another Lachie Neale goal. Neale's got 3 and 40. Brisbane have a 27-point lead and they're going to go 2-0 to start season 2022. 15-6-96 to Essendon, 9-15-69. And it is fair to say that the 2020 Brownlow medalist is back in that kind of form.
His work rate around the contest is phenomenal. When I'm coaching my women at Western Bulldogs, I want them to be lively, be active around the contest, be on the move, do something, don't just stand still. And there was probably around about, I reckon there's probably 16 players around that contest. And who was moving more than anybody else it was Lachie Neale. He ran one way, he ran another way, he shook off his opponent, he got the ball, did a U-turn, and put it through.
I think it's coming back, guys.
It's going to come back. They've gone back to the middle. The umpire's called for the third umpire, so to speak, and he's jogging the ball back to the line. Umpire crosses the flags. It is a behind. So Lachie Neale's going to have to settle with a relatively subpar 39 and 2 goals.
So he won't get the 3 and the 2 votes. He won't get 5.
Well, he won't get all
just
6.
Get the 3,
We're downgrading to 4.
So the Bombers bring the ball back in. It's a long kick into the centre circles. It's off hands. Ham collects his handball, intercepted though by Ainsworth, and now Harris. Just a dinky little kick is a good one. Finds Rayner. And McCluggage is all alone inside 50. Rayner spots him. McCluggage marks. He's 40 metres out, 45-degree angle to the left.
You know who else was all alone inside 50? 3 Essendon defenders. They were all alone inside 50. And not one of them said, you know what, you get over and get him. They all wanted to be the free person. They all wanted to get a kick late.
So Hugh McCluggage, a goal in the opening term, a goal in the third. And yes, to put the cherry on top for the Brisbane Lions at Docklands. He's got 3. Brisbane edge out to a 28-point lead. 15-7-97, Essendon 9-15-69, 31 minutes played in the final term, and a great way to cap off a good win.
Well, that's where he's got to improve his game. We know that he can play. We know he can run, carry the ball. He's pretty good around goals when, he's on the run, snapping across the body. But they're the ones that probably let him down a lot over the last 2 or 3 years, is the ability to kick set shots in big moments of the game in his career, in his short career so far. But that was just a good way of going back and actually getting some confidence with his set shot routine. It's been harped on quite a bit, and he just scraped it in, but that'll give him the world of confidence next time he's got a set shot in front of goal. He's had 19 possessions tonight. He's kicked his 3rd goal.
Coming into tonight, Jono, he was 23 goals 44 since 2019, and he's kicked 3 goals straight today as Stringer takes it out of the middle for the Bombers. Ham through his hands, Perkins for his 3rd. That's a lovely dribbling goal. And that's like the Fountain Prize at the end of the sale of the century. That is a consolation prize for Perkins. His 3rd, as he did against Adelaide here last year when he won a Rising Star nomination in kicking 3, an equal career best, and the margin's back to 22. 32 and a half minutes gone final turn. The Bombers 10-15 to the Lions 15-7.
Well, that was an excellent clearance out of the middle. Draper and Jake Stringer on the same page, but Jake Stringer has not been in the centre clearances enough for me. He started off the game in the first centre bounce. He's probably had 2 or 3 more since then. He spent a lot of time standing up forward. You can absolutely say to Jake, mate, take the centre bounce, push forward. Someone else will come on in centre bounce and won't have to run around as much as you. But he does great work in the centre bounce, so keep him in there.
So back in the middle as the seconds tick down to full time. Quick kick out of the pack by Brisbane's intercepted by Parrish, who sends it to the wing. It's off hands. Archie collects. Handballs to Ainsworth. Handballs inboard to Lyons. Kicks it back out to Archie, who's found some space. Wing position near the interchange gates. Kicks long inside 50. And it's marked by Kelly. As the siren sounds here at Docklands Stadium. It was the Bombers early, but Brisbane stormed home for a 22-point victory. They're 2-0 in season 2022.
We will always fight for victory, like Fitzroy and Bezarol. All for one and one for all. We will answer to the call. Go Lions, Brisbane Lions, we'll kick the winning score. You'll hear a mighty roar.
Essendon were hot early. They shot out to a 22-point lead at quarter time, but Brisbane set up their victory with an impressive middle quarters. They kicked 12 goals to 4 to set up their 22-point victory. Lachie Neale, the star, 41 disposals, 12 clearances and 2 goals. Brisbane flying high early in the season, but for the Bombers, they've got questions to be answered, dropping their first 2 games by a combined 88 points.
Brisbane Lions will kick the winning score. You'll hear a mighty roar. You'll hear a mighty roar.
22 points was the theme of the night. It was Essendon's lead at quarter time. It was Brisbane's lead at three-quarter time. It was their lead at full time. 15-7, 97. To the Bombers, 10-15, 75. Maybe left to rue a couple of opportunities in that final term, but as Jess said, there was that 12-goal burst from Brisbane in the middle stages of the game that broke it open. 3 goals to Hugh McCluggage for the Lions, 2 to Joe Danaher, 2 to Lachie Neale, 2 to Charlie Cameron, 2 to Zach Bailey, singles to McInerney, Rayner, Cockatoo and McCarthy. For Essendon, Peter Wright kicked 3, so 10 goals in his past 2 games here at Docklands. Archie Perkins, the birthday boy, 20 years of age today, he kicked 3. Singles to Smith, Merritt, Cutler and Stringer for Essendon, who start 0-2 for the second year running. Brisbane 2-0 after a slow start last year, in which they took a little while to get going, and it puts them ahead in the head-to-head ledger between these two sides. 17-1 and 16 all-time, the way of Brisbane, with the draw thrown in there for good measure. We'll head into the Lions room soon and get some reaction as well as the song, but with their thoughts on what was a pretty entertaining game, certainly in the middle stages, and faded away a little bit late. Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke on Grandstand AFL.
Well, Essendon looked really good at the start, Berkey. I remember looking at them at a stage with their spread. Their ability to win the ball in the contest was very, very good. The ability to spread not only just from the centre bounces, the boundary throw-ins and around ground ball-ups was fantastic in that first quarter, but then it just dropped away massively after that second quarter. I think, Peter Wright, he was very, very good, but only strung probably, a quarter and a half together, didn't string that rest of the game together. So he needed to actually build himself into the game, whether the supply was there. I thought the supply was there, but just to get him into the right spots. And then the Lions then got themselves organised. They then worked out the type of football they needed to play, whether it was fast, slow, or actually just really, really just be basic down the line and starve pretty much the Essendon Football Club of the football. There were a few lulls within the game, but I thought out and out, I thought it was a very, very sort of boring, slow game from, first half, second half, and that last quarter, it was just almost like no one wanted to win. No one wanted to be here to play that last quarter. It was just not exciting at all. But I think that just goes to show that maybe, they're the sort of early things that we see within a season at the moment, that, they've had a big layoff. Rules have changed, but I thought that, very different times when Stringer was in the middle of the ground, Essendon looked their most dangerous and looked like they were going to score from stoppages, Berkey.
Yep, summed it up well, mate. Quarter time, Bombers were winning the clearances 12-2. They ended up losing 30-37. So it's 18-35 after quarter time. And it just goes to show Brisbane, they were asleep a bit in that first quarter. Quarter time, whatever Chris Fagan said to them, really woke them up. Second and third quarters were great. Did what they needed to do in this last quarter. We mentioned Lachie Neale, outstanding game. Zorko, who right from the start, I would have given you any odds to say he's not going to last this game. He's limping around, he's running on his heel, which is a sure sign that his calf is really, really sore. He's in the middle of the ground now with ice wrapped around that Achilles. He did an amazing job to run out that game and get 33 possessions. Peter Wright had started the game like John Coleman. He was 12 possessions and kicking goals from everywhere. He only had 3 possessions after quarter time. Just went right out of it. Harris Andrews decided to play defence which worked for the Brisbane Lions. That certainly helped. But one of the things that really stands out for me in this game, Zach Merritt has 21 possessions in the first half. Really keeps Essendon alive. Chris Fagan says, that's too many. Jared Berry, don't go and tag him, but I want you to slow him down. I want you to make it hard for him. Don't let him get any uncontested possessions. He only has 10 in the second half. And for a midfielder these days, you start with 10 because the ball just finds you because they give you stupid possessions. So he has 10 in the second half. Whereas Lachie Neale, he just runs around and not a player goes near him for the rest of the game. Why aren't Essendon saying, hey, Lachie Neale is the main midfielder who's chopping us up? At least let's not let him get... If he beats us in a contest and he's too good for us in a contest, so be it. But if he runs for a stoppage uncontested and kicks 2 goals, well then that's going to hurt us. I don't believe this garbage about is too hard to tag. There is not a player that's ever been put on a boot that cannot be tagged or slowed down a little bit. The fact they let him get 40 and kick 2 and almost 3 is a disgrace.
Couldn't agree more with you. But I reckon clubs or just within the competition, you've got to start looking at those two. Back in our day, Berkey, and especially in yours, that was the way to stop a player. The way to stop a team and the way to stop a player was to target out maybe 1 or 2, maybe one go a really hard tag and maybe a few others or a soft tag. So, I think it needs to come back into the game in some level.
If Merritt gets Lachie Neale's possessions, fair chance Essendon a lot closer. Brisbane did not let him get those possessions, and Brisbane run away with it.
22-point winners they were in the end, Brisbane. They start 2-0. Let's head into the rooms with Lauren Borden on grandstands.
It's pretty loud in the Brisbane rooms right now. Chris Fagan wants everyone into the song. He's told all the players who weren't playing to get around as they all gather together and link arms and are just getting ready right now to belt out the club song. So we're all just linking arms. There's about 35 players all gathered together in quite a tight, small room here at Docklands, but they're here and ready to sing the song.
So Brisbane winners by 22 points. We'll get some reaction from the Lions rooms very shortly with Lauren Borden about 6 minutes before we send you your separate ways. If you're with us for most of the network, you'll be headed to the Adelaide Oval for Port Adelaide and Hawthorn. On Queensland News Radio, you're headed to the Gold Coast and Melbourne. The votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year, Chris Johnson?
Yeah, remind me, are we doing 3-2-1 or which
3-2-1?
way? Yeah, which way are we going? Do you want me to start with one or
freestyle, Jono?
Freestyle, all right.
I'll go with one. You want.
I'll go with one vote. I thought he done pretty good tonight. Was Jared Lyons. 25 possessions, 17 clearance, and out of those 25 possessions, 10 of those were contested and 3 were uncontested. I thought he had a solid 9 throughout, so here gets my 1 vote. 2 votes go to Hugh McCluggage. 3 goals, 19 possessions, just a really good, and I thought the finish there with that set shot deserved. He kicked the first goal and he kicked the last goal for the Brisbane Lions, so I was pretty happy with that. And no drum roll here, we know who's probably got the free votes. Well, Lachie Neale, 41 possessions, 12 clearances, and he's kicked himself to 2 goals, so he's done a fantastic job. As Berkey and I spoke about throughout the whole broadcast, was around his worth ethic around the ball, outside of the ball. And what I love about is that he doesn't push back deep to get his ball. He gets all his balls sort of centre or sort of half back forward, unlike some other midfielders that are going around the competition.
He's in great form to start the year. We might ask him about it because he's with Lauren Borden on Grandstand AFL is Lachie Neale. Loz.
He's just listened to you pumping you up after that performance. 41 possessions. What was it like out there on the field for you?
Well, it was a bit of a battle early. We didn't come to play that first quarter, so we were really disappointed. We needed to respond, especially as a midfield group. We were getting cleaned up around the ball. I think we were minus 10 clearances in the first quarter, so I feel like I'm a bit of a leader in that midfield, and I had to stand up and try and get the ball rolling our way and get going.
You did mention that first quarter when I guess the Bombers jumped you early. Did you just take it upon yourself to do something, or was there a message from Chris Fagan at quarter time to you?
No, nothing to me directly, more to the mids. We just weren't hunting, they were out spreading us. We just didn't bring our work boots that first quarter, so we'll have a look at that because we were probably lucky that they missed a lot of shots in the first, and probably the second quarter they had some chances, but we fought back in that second, and then after half time I thought we were able to get our game going.
And you had to hold off them too in the last quarter. They kept pushing. What was the pressure like as you held them off in the last term and then you really kicked the sealer?
Yeah, it was hot out there. Really good pressure from both teams. They're a really good midfield as well, and I think that's their driver as a team, and when they're up and going, they're hard to stop. So we had to pressure them. They pressured us and came at us in the last quarter. They're a really good team, and I'm sure that they'll win a lot of games this year if they play like that.
And we'll now head up to the box with some questions from Chris Johnson, Nathan Burke, Jess Webster and Joel Peterson.
Lockie, Nathan Burke here, mate. Sensational effort today. Jared Berry went on, just sort of quietened Zach Merritt down, who had 21 in that first half, and we thought that was really instrumental. Are you ever surprised at the end of the game that the opposition don't sort of send someone closer to you? And you're on a roll today. You know when you're playing good footy, you know when you're getting a lot of it. Do you expect somebody to come at you and you're surprised when they don't?
Probably not today. We know Essendon pretty well. The last few years, they back their midfield in and sort of go head-to-head every time we play them. So didn't expect it today. And the way that they started, I think they would have been thinking that they could get a hold of us, which they did in the first quarter. And then we fought back. And as you said, I thought Jared Berry today was probably our most important player with his work in the second half on Merritt. Really shut him down. A couple of crucial tackles. One clearly that I remember, the ball spilt to me and I was able to kick a goal. But just his pressure to get on the back of Merritt and really shut down his influence was huge for us.
Yeah, well, if I'm you, I expect someone next time. You play them again because outstanding day. And if they don't, well then they don't deserve to be in the coach's box. But I'll hand it over to John.
Good on you, Lockie. Congratulations. Now, an unsung hero, probably not for you guys, but I think within the football world, is Jared Lyons. How much of his contribution helps you to be able to get those 41 touches plus 12 clearances?
Yeah, I love playing with JL. He's a really crucial cog in that midfield, and he just does his job every single week without fail. So we know what we're going to get from him basically 22 weeks of the year. He's fantastic since he's come to the footy club. He's put his head down and earned a really crucial role in our midfield, and he's a leader on field. He sets us up beautifully. And he's playing a really selfless role at the moment as well. He's probably our best clearance player, but he's getting guys through there like Zach Bailey and Cam Rayner and taking a sort of back seat at times, which is great leadership because, as I said, he's probably one of our best clearance players.
He's got a bit of competition in those stakes, Lockie. Congratulations on your performance today. Thanks for sharing a bit of time with us on Grandstand.
No worries. Thanks for having me, guys.
The Brownlow medalist of a couple of years ago, Lockie Neal, 41 disposals, 2 goals, 3 votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year, and most importantly, a win for the Lions. For most of our audience, you're headed to the Adelaide Oval very soon. Aaron Bryans, Neil Cross, as well as Stephen Williams, Scott Camporelli and Liz Walsh, your call team. For the rest of our audience, you're headed to Carrara, Gold Coast and Melbourne, with Quentin Hull heading up the broadcast. Thanks to Jono, to Berkey, to Jess, to Loz, to Jules, pushing the buttons here at Docklands. Brisbane start season 2022 2 and zip, 22-point winners over the Dons.